Morning, babies. Hi, Yosef. How you doing? I'm sending out notifications that I'm on. Hello. All right. Yeah, I got my haircut a couple weeks ago. I want to say it was like last week or the week before. Um, it grew. I had it cut. God, I don't think I've like streamed my face since the last time I had it cut, or maybe I did just when I did it. Anyway, it had grown a ton, and then I chopped like 2 inches off, and it's still this long. Like it was, I don't know. It was just it grew really fast. But yeah, lots of like layers. I love it. It makes my hair really big. Like it just gets insanely big. Thank you. I'm doing good, Yosef. How are you? Uh yeah, I basically just like oh wait, hold on. I just broke something. One sec. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, we're good. I well, Nexie did most of the chores this morning. But basically we rolled out of bed, did chores, had some breakfast, and now I'm here. This even last night I was like, um, as I rolled into bed, I was like, I want to stream more. Yeah, so we're here. I'm happy to be streaming. I have some fun announcements today. I'm also going to continue working on our abstract pieces. I had to, this one is still drying a little bit because I had to add some more because there was some like splotching after it dried. So yeah, I'll probably work on this one last just because I added more paint to it. But yeah, how are y'all doing? I wanted to do so uh we likely have I don't know if we have an ad running right now. I looked into the ad stuff because yesterday I was curious about it, and basically what I've decided is we will run an ad every hour, and then it'll be like a 3 minute ad, and then we'll take a break, and then that way it's going to keep the pre-roll ads off, and then you guys will be able to anticipate, the ad. So no one has to miss out on any content. I always feel bad when that happens when like someone asks me a question, they're like, "Oh, well, I just watched an ad, so I don't know what you said." So, yeah, I think an ad's going now. I don't know. I don't know how to tell though. I'm gonna get a bot set up so it's gonna help us out. But yeah. Hi, Abyss. Abyss Grant, how are you? Waking up this morning, sun not up, world is quiet, peak nostalgia. Missing Doja, I know. God, those were the days. I miss those days. Hi, Phoenix. How are you, baby? Hi, Misfit. Morning, morning. Yeah, I have this thing that I do in the morning where I have multiple beverages. This is so weird. So I'll have my coffee, I have my tea, I have a soda over here. Maybe, there's a lot of caffeine. Maybe I should dial back. Hi, awesome. How you doing? Yeah, maybe I should dial back. But I just it kind of like sip from each one. I haven't had any tea yet. I've mostly just been coffeeing. Balanced out with a 1 liter of vodka. Oh, right. Double fisting it. How are y'all doing this morning, though? What you guys got going on this Monday? Again, didn't think I would be streaming this morning. Originally, I was planning on having a call. I had some work stuff going on, but it got rescheduled. Caffeinated warm drink, non-caffeinated cold drink, perfect balance. Yeah. Motivated for the week to finish some paintings. I love it. Grant, what are you working on? Oh, what did I just do? What did I just do? Hang on. I'm still relearning all this Twitch stuff. So if I do anything weird, you guys gotta let me know. Portrait commission, excited to do personal stuff. I love it. 2 animation projects. 2? I feel like animation projects are that's pretty impressive. Okay, I think the ad finished. Yeah, so it says pre-roll ads are disabled for 63 minutes. So in an hour, actually, LS, would you mind setting a timer for an hour? Because it says 63 minutes. So set if you wouldn't mind setting a timer for an hour and then just letting me know. I think it's gonna autoplay, but I just want to let everybody know. Hi Zaid, how are you? Yeah, I really wanted to figure out this ad thing because it was getting annoying for me as well, where I was like I would talk about something and then someone would miss it and I was like, "No." So we're gonna schedule them. Oh, I see. Oh, I've got a little timer here too actually. LS it says pre-roll off and then it shows me a little timer, so we'll double duty it. Oh, Grant, I'm glad to hear it. We're all slow artists, let's be honest. None of us are actually, well, I mean, maybe, I don't know. There's some outliers. Yeah, LS, I didn't get a chance to look into it or set anything up yet. I think I left it on the debrief. Here to learn. Zaid, I love it. So I want to do, I'll be working on my abstract stuff, but I want to do a little bit of a live group mentoring. So if you guys have anything going on with your creative stuff, if you're going through some art block, if you're going through comparison or imposter syndrome, I definitely want to talk about it. If there's anything that I've tweeted or posted about that y'all want me to elaborate on, let me know. That's also stuff that I'm totally cool to talk about today. And while I work on the abstract stuff from that we started on yesterday's stream, I figure we could just do a little group mentoring. So you guys let me know what's going on. Hold on, I forgot a pen. One sec. Forgot the most important part. Thanks for the follow, Steve. How are you doing? Why am I not already following? I don't know. I feel like, I mean, we've definitely connected before, so. Oh, Grant, thank you for giving me Prime. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you. Enjoy your emotes. Can we get some emote love in chat for Grant? You randomly say lemon often? Lemon. As do I, my friend. As do I. All right.
Lemon.
Lemon. Elmonit. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. I struggled with that one. Anyways, just for some context about what I'm working on, this is part of an abstract series that we started yesterday. So chat decided what colors and shapes to work with, and then I'm coming in and building up on the abstract design. Also, if you're just coming in, feel free to ask any questions, any art-related questions. We're doing a live group mentoring today, so I'm happy to talk about anything that I've tweeted about, answering your questions, anything related to imposter syndrome or art block, stuff like that. I did my best, Monique. I did my best. Welcome back, Misfit. Yeah, I'm gonna do I don't, for those of you that were in the ad, I'm running one ad an hour so we can keep track of when the ads are going and then we can take a break. We've got the timer here and we can take a break so that you guys don't miss anything while the ads are running.
Lemon.
Lemon. Thank you for the follow. Jad, how you doing?
Lemon.
Lemon. MF Quest, how are you? He just wants to hang out with you? Oh, maybe I should let her in. I mean, I feel like she's not gonna bother the canvases. Guys, I'm doing this like really unhinged project back here. As you can see, it's not done. It's kind of a mess. Um, yeah, I'm gonna work on that later. Hi, Genesis. Watched one of your YouTube videos about consistency. It was pretty insightful. I'm really glad that you think so. Thanks for coming in. How are you? Miss what you said, if anything, about the animations. Oh, Misfit, I was saying that 2 animations this week seems very ambitious. Also, for anyone who missed yesterday's stream, this is Mr. Chicken. I think that's just the name I decided on, but this is Mr. Chicken. He started as 2 blue, I guess, circles and some flesh color. I also have an announcement um, that I want to share later on, probably around like closer to noon, maybe. Um, so I'll be hanging on to that. But yeah, I'm really excited. Doing fine, although dealing with a bit of imposter syndrome because sometimes I trace because it's easier and helps me learn the shapes and curves. Later, I can do it myself from memory better. It's like if you do it, then you're not a real artist and it's all wrong and bad. So sometimes I end up not drawing because of that and I don't like it. I feel like this is an instance where the only thing that matters is your own morals and what you think is right or wrong. And I know that there's artists from both categories that say, don't trace. There's some that say trace. There's some that say like it's okay in this instance, it's not okay in this instance. I think though what's most important here is that you know yourself. You know, do I think this is okay? How does this make me feel? Does this give me more confidence? And if the answer to those is negative, then I think it's something you definitely want to take a look at in terms of why do you feel pressured to trace it? But then also, if tracing helps you learn, is that necessarily a bad thing? And on the flip side of it, in my mind, as long as you're not tracing other people's work and then showing it off and being like, hey, look what I did, then as a learning resource, I think it's absolutely fine. But again, this comes down to what do you think is right or wrong and acting on that. Because at the end of the day, if you are doing something that you don't feel good about, you're always going to feel like you're doing something wrong, whether someone says you are or you aren't. Hi, Abs. How are you? My favorite color marker, flesh. It's so funny because as I was pulling my colors out yesterday, I was like, I have so many of these pinks and so many of these blues that are all really similar. Also, this one was allegedly pink. It was labeled pink, looked pink, put it next to the blue, not pink. I mean, contextually, it just looks like flesh. It looks like a chicken nugget. Hi, Wolfga. How are you doing? I do remember you. Steve says tracing is good and cool. Actually, I'll always advocate for tracing as a learning activity. Just trace brain on, not mindlessly. I think that that's really good advice. And here's the thing: the whole like mindless tracing, the same thing can happen when we're drawing too. So it's like if your brain is on and active, whether you're tracing or not tracing, you're gonna learn something. Hi, Isma. You just let her in. Hi, honey. Did you want to come in? Oh my goodness. But yes, I think what Steve shared is really good advice. Keeping the brain on, asking questions, being thoughtful while you do it. Here's my honey. Come here. She says, hello. Meow, hi, baby. Did you want to come in here? Oh, I think she really wanted attention. You can leave her. Here, put her in my lap. She'll probably stay. Come here.
She's going on my shirt.
Yeah, she is stuck.
Oh.
I got her. I got her. It's good. It's good. Oh, she's like, nope. Okay, well, maybe she didn't want me. What's she meowing about, honey? Oh my god. I don't know if you guys can hear her. She's like, meow, meow, meow. Let's see. Hi, Yulo. Morning, morning. How are you? Multiple ways to trace as well. Have my students do topological, anatomical, and compositional. That's fantastic. Just said Squish's favorite food. Chicken nugget. You have his undivided attention. I love it. Let's see. How would you do in my situation? I'm a professional artist, and sometimes I suffer from imposter syndrome, and sometimes I consider myself good enough to do whatever comes to my mind. My biggest problem is that it's been a while since I'm not able to do personal work. Not sure what's the reason. Monique, do you think that part of the lack of confidence might come from the fact that you don't have the opportunity to express yourself in personal ways? Or even experiment. I know for me, a lot of my personal work tends to be experimentation. And when I get really like boom, 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 professional work after professional work, it starts to feel a little bit like I'm falling behind, not necessarily because there's something I need to learn, but I mean, there's always something to learn, but more because I don't have that time to experiment with new things or challenge myself in other ways because I just have to meet a quota. I also think for me there as a professional there's a lot of external expectations about how I present myself in my work. So sometimes, even when I have the time for personal or more experimental work, sometimes there's still this idea of like, well, I have to post and share a particular thing, or I have to work on a particular thing. And my abstract work has kind of been me breaking out of that because, like, this sort of work. This is the sort of professional work that I do. I've been paid for years to do this stuff. My abstract work is relatively new, and while I also want to transition into being paid for my abstract work, it's something that's still very experimental to me, but it's given me lots of confidence because it's allowed me to express myself in ways that sometimes my professional work just doesn't allow, which is okay. It's okay to kind of have both worlds, but I think the studio time or the experimentation time is incredibly important to us creatives. Hey Pro, how you doing? Hi Knox. Just discovered your creativity quiz and got the Overthinker. Going to try your recommendations. Overthinker is a tough one, Knox. If you want to talk about overthinking at all today, let me know. But yeah, I feel like overthinking is one of those things that, especially for really intellectual people, overthinking tends to be the way that we kind of see if something's worth doing. And the problem with that is with art, you have to make mistakes in order to come to new conclusions, try new ideas. And so oftentimes when we overthink it, it's really easy to be like, well, it's not worth it because I don't really know the next step, or I think I know the next step, but we haven't actually done it to like prove it in a sense. Yeah, if you guys want the quiz, it's linked on my website. So if you go to silasay.com, or you can type in exclamation point links in chat, and the quiz is on my website. So the quiz, what it is, it's geared a little bit more towards like the mental side of creativity. And so you can take the quiz, and I think there's 10 different responses, and they offer advice as well as like, here's what I think you're going through. It's pretty spot on, I'm not gonna lie. And then it offers advice specific to that. And overthinker is one of those outcomes. Um, Getting the balance between professional and personal work is difficult. I wanted to be an artist because I wanted to do my personal art. It's not always easy to combine the two. Pro, I know for me, I totally agree with what you're saying. And I know for me, the hardest part was the longer that I was in the professional space, the harder it was to experiment, because I think, and this may have more to do with the fact that like my presence is on social media versus working like a typical studio job. Um, so like once you kind of find your thing in that sense, it's really, I found it difficult to branch out, because if I branched out, that meant, well, it may not get the same sort of reception, and trying to be as efficient as possible. I've stepped away from that. But there's a lot of pressure, I think, and a lot of that pressure is kind of invisible. We don't necessarily see it or recognize it. And I think the only reason I recognized it was because I stepped back from all of my professional work, and was like, what am I feeling? What is going on here? What
Lemon.
am I experiencing? Shisuya, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. Oh no, Judd, I'm sorry. If I remember right, also got Overthinker and I took it. Friend of mine who does animation has unironically been telling me, just do it. Yeah, I think it as like, so here's the thing, it's not glamorous advice, right? It's not advice that feels like it's going to make any significant change today. But the thing about just doing it is that you get to experience something that you wouldn't experience unless you were drawing. And I wrote a tweet about this yesterday, a couple days ago, basically that said the answers to your questions are in the drawing. And so many people are looking to like these videos outside themselves, you know, like looking for the answer before they draw. But what I actually think needs to happen is they need to draw, and then they'll see that when they draw, they can iterate, and then they can find the solution to the whatever the problem is that they're facing in their creativity. And oftentimes it's not even necessarily a problem, because when we overthink, it's so easy to think there's going to be a particular outcome that may actually not exist. Genesis asks, do you feel like abstract art lets you set your mind free a bit more? Genesis, I short answer is yes. The long
Lemon.
answer is that what my abstract art has done for me is help me identify challenges that are kind of creeping behind the scenes when it comes to my art. So the whole reason that I started making abstract work was because I was feeling incredibly art blocked. I have started calling it a high functioning art block. I'm not anymore, but high functioning art block is when I'm still creating, like constantly going and going, but I'm feeling a little bit like disconnected and empty inside. Like I didn't feel a connection to the work that I used to. And so by doing the abstract work, when I took a break from my portraiture and my illustration, I said that I'm just going to open a sketchbook and I'm going to draw whatever comes to mind. And whatever comes to mind is just going to come out. And the thing about that was when I did that, I had lots of thoughts come up. I had thoughts that were like, oh, this isn't good enough. Oh, you have to prove yourself. Oh, that's not valuable. Like a lot of negative things. And what I realized was these insidious thoughts had boxed me into where I was with my creativity that didn't allow me to experiment. And so the funny thing is I started my abstract work with no intention to develop a new style. And then for about 2.5, almost 3 months, I filled up multiple sketchbooks. I worked through all of my creative challenges, and from it was an abstract style that was born. And so I'm gonna show you a couple more. Hang on. So this is, like I said, I've been doing this abstract stuff for almost 3 months. I haven't looked at any abstract work since starting to do this. This is actually live streaming this stuff is the first time that I've really like officially shared it. So I've had some rules where I wanted to keep it to myself. I wanted to develop it. I wanted to just like, let it be basically. And from doing this, and some of these aren't done yet, but from doing
Lemon.
this, I have completely navigated my art block. I feel like I have full control over everything that I create now. And I literally wake up every single day, and the first thought I have is, I want to draw. And it's been a long time since I have felt that. Not not that my portraiture and my illustrations don't make me feel that way. I'm actually moving back into portraiture again. Um, but I didn't realize just how much this stuff was creeping in. And so the abstract stuff started as a way to just let go, and to bring myself back to a space where I was creating again without that expectation and see where it took me. And it took me places that I like did not expect it to. And now the abstract stuff is like very close to my heart. Move your painting into the back, into the closet, so Yasma doesn't scratch it. Oh, is she still in here? Oh, she is. She's been quiet. Yasma, what are you doing, honey? Hi. Come on. But yeah, so the abstract stuff has been really fun. Um, 10 out of 10 recommend it. And I also, at some point, and I'm working on this, I've done a ton of writing alongside my drawing. At some point, I'm going to release more information about how I did all of this. I'm going to release like the rules that I use, the practices that I did to hopefully help others who are going through it. Because when I was in it, I felt very hopeless. I felt very like, first of all, I was confused because I was like, I love art. Why do I feel this way? And so I felt very confused and I felt very hopeless because in my mind it was like, well, I can't stop. Right. And I realized that was another like rule that I had made for myself. Like, oh, I can't stop making art because XYZ. And of course, it was part of my business. But at the time, like, it wouldn't have killed anything if I just took a break. And so I did. Um, and not only has it helped my art, but I feel like it's helped me work through other things in my life. And so being back here on stream, it feels like because I now have that clarity with my creativity, I have clarity with other things like wanting to show up in stream, wanting to, work through all this stuff. So I did not expect it to like turn out the way that it did. But I'm so happy that it did turn out this way because I love the abstract work, and it definitely has its moments of feeling more freeing, but it also has its moments of being challenging and thoughtful. And I feel like when I'm working on my abstract projects, I'm thinking about everything that I've learned in art. So, like, all of the fundamental stuff is still kind of in the back of my mind, not in a pressuring way, more in just how can I use this to tell whatever story I want to tell with my abstract work. Jock says, from my partner, I find it curious this thing of artists starting lots of projects because I always did that and thought it was wrong. It made me not a real artist because I thought I had to start and finish something. Oh, this is such a good topic. And you know what's funny is that I think secretly I felt this way as well, where it was like I can't start something new until I finish the last project. And so I would just like pound through these individual projects. And even when I had other ideas, it was like, no, set that aside. You can't do it. And now I'm like, I have tons of projects, mostly like all traditional stuff. Like you can see behind me, I've got I only have a few things at the moment because I just started working a lot bigger with this stuff. But now I'm like, if I have the inclination to start something, I do. And I don't think that makes you any less of an artist. And it took me working with traditional mediums to realize this because with some traditional mediums, and we'll take oil paint as an example, it takes a long time to dry. And so you're almost forced to wait. And in that wait, you're going to get bored. You're going to start something new. And I realized that the traditional work kind of imposes patience on you. You kind of have to just like slow down. And in a world where social media and our society really urges us to be productive and valuable, and all of these, all especially the like hustle culture right now, like all of this kind of pressures us to be a certain way. And maybe this is why I'm leaning towards traditional art, but art kind of forces us to slow down, and I think that's what we need. I really do. Also, write as well as draw. Do you have any insights into how to improve as a writer? So I would say I've been writing like a big portion of my life. There was a period of time where I took a bit of a hiatus. I don't necessarily consider I don't know. I've never looked at my writing as like a professional thing, but obviously like there's aspects of it that have been professional, like my social accounts and the things that I share. To be honest, most of the time my writing is just it just comes from the heart. It's what I'm experiencing, it's what I've overcome, it's what I feel like the world needs to hear. A lot of times it's kind of like this love letter to myself of like you're doing okay. Like remember this or try that. And a lot of, sometimes the stuff that I'm sharing is like this is what I've been through. Sometimes I'm going through it with you guys, and sometimes I think it's not so much about how to do it, but just to do it. In the same way with art, I mean, of course, there's ways like there's proper grammar and spelling, um, but I think that's stuff that can be learned over time. And I think the more you write, the more you kind of develop this voice. Um, and from there, I think you can really start to play. But for me, I write every day as well. So even if it's not like a professional thing, um, I'm writing, I've got a journal. Where is it? I keep a journal next to my stuff all the time. And when I'm drawing, a lot of times thoughts go in here because just so much comes up. Less so these days, but early on, I filled four of these and almost four sketchbooks in the time that I had taken the break and was working through my art block. So I do a lot of writing. And that's what I think it comes down to, really, is just write a lot. And same with art. I One of the things that I've kind of noticed as I took the break as well is that, again, going back to how artists, a lot of especially beginners are kind of looking for the right way to do things. And to be honest, I think so much is discovered in the process of drawing. And I don't know why. I mean, I guess we are kind of told this, but we're not really told what's found in it. We're not really told like how that process comes to be or how to draw and then take away, you know, what am I experiencing from this? Um, and I think it's important to know that as well, where it's like, yes, someone can tell you, just draw more, like that's all you need to do. But I think drawing more is important, but also paying attention as you draw, asking questions. I think one of the most important things to ask yourself is, what do I like about this when I'm drawing it? Because if we don't ask that question, then it becomes really easy to think that we're doing things wrong because it doesn't look like someone else. And then it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to feel like, oh, well, I need to watch a new video or I need to try a new thing. But if you like something, iterate on that, develop that. And of course, there's fundamentals to use as a guide, but everything is made up, you know? And I think every artist who's out there sharing their philosophies and their theories and their methods of drawing, that's just what they've learned through drawing. And I think everybody's capable of that, but I think it's hard to internalize that like we could be the source of our own education, and it really boils down to, I am the artist, what do I like and how do I run with this? Um and I'm always, I'm a huge proponent of encouraging people to explore that. And I explore that in my boot camp a lot. I there's a lot of like educational stuff out there, like courses and things, but when I made mine, I didn't want it to be this like, you like draw the nose this way, draw the eyes that way. I really wanted to give tools to be able to analyze what you see and what your experience is, and then be able to take that and then create something. And so I taught my study methods as a way to help people break free from feeling like they need someone to give them the answer. And of course, there's parts of the boot camp that goes over like, here's how I do it. But it's always been, I've always wanted to teach and have taught, here's the approach. Like here's how you experience it through your lens, and then take something from that and work with that. And I think that's really empowering. I'm so backed up on all artistic expression. I don't even write anymore. How do I break through the block? I know just do it, but I feel like I have nothing to say, so approaching it feels a little impossible. Zaid, what I would recommend is, if you feel blocked, it sounds like there's you saying that you don't have anything to say. I think everybody has something to say, first of all. But because you feel that way, my thought is that you have expectations about what it means to be a creative person, whether that's the outcome, whether that's how it's done, whether it's what you have to share. And you're going to discover more through doing it, because a lot of thoughts are going to come up and tell you, like, hey, this doesn't feel right. Hey, you're not, this, whatever your brain's going to tell you. But you have to allow yourself to have no expectation for the outcome, to allow yourself to get into it. And through that, uncover the things that are getting in the way. Figure out what those beliefs are that are telling you that you're not capable, that you can't do it, that it's not meant for you. And then realize that those aren't you. Those oftentimes those are beliefs pushed upon us by society, by the things we see online, by our peers, even other artists or artists that we respect. And again, all of this stuff is made up. You get to set the rules. And this was something I had to learn myself as well. And this was something that my abstract work taught me was that it doesn't have to be any particular way. I don't have to say any particular thing. And oftentimes, if I say just straight what comes from the heart, that's more meaningful to someone than if I was to prepare it and make it perfect and, refine it so that it's no longer raw. Like, I think that there is a lot to be learned in the act of doing it because your brain's going to tell you what's up. Your brain's going to tell you why you're blocked. And the only reason I can tell you or speculate on some reasons why you're blocked is just because I've seen it so many times in my mentorship and also with myself. So, but ultimately, you have the best answer. And you will find it. I think through your creativity. But you gotta let those expectations down, and I found what helped me was to let myself create without other people seeing it. That was a big one because the moment somebody was gonna see it, I clammed up. I could feel my whole body tighten, and I knew that there was something there. There was a fear, worry, whatever, and listen to your body in that way too. Sometimes it's not so obvious either. Sometimes it's just like a physical reaction or a feeling. Hi, Gonryuki. How you doing? I think what makes working through some of these blocks kind of difficult is that we do get a lot of advice that's just keep doing it, just keep drawing, just keep whatever. But in my experience, most of the time the problem isn't that we don't know how to draw or we're not good enough for it or like the like technical side of it. A lot of times there's something creeping behind the scenes that we don't yet realize about ourselves or about our creative process, or how we think others perceive us. Like oftentimes there's something mental that's blocking, and in a lot of cases all that really needs to be uncovered is the belief that's holding you to whatever standard it is that you're creating for yourself. And from there, you can then recognize that's kind of silly, or maybe by recognizing it, you're able to take the steps to move through it. But I think that recognition of it is really important. And the only reason I suggest getting into the creativity is because if you listen during that and you don't set expectations for yourself and you just make whatever, like draw something that makes you uncomfortable, and you'll hear all those thoughts come up. Those are the things that are blocking you. So that's why I say just do it as well. But you have to know what to look for when you're doing it. And like I said, I'm making a resource for this specifically because I felt I learned so much from that, and there's so much in it or so much from it that I'd really love to share. That obviously, like, it needs a bit more organization. But I can share like tidbits of my experience and things like that. But I am working on something for that because I know there's a lot of people who are stuck by that. And if I can share anything that I learned through my art block, that would make me very happy. Yeah, go ahead, Steve. There's a chance I'm going to miss it because I'm just bouncing between both. Hang on one sec. I'm just double checking something. Okay. Ba, ba, ba. Hi, Kaya. How are you? Welcome in. Loving the tips and advice you give. Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you for coming in. Okay, Steve, let me read yours. After 10 years as a professional digital artist, I've shifted entirely to traditional media. My drawing skills have translated well, but painting is overwhelming. It's fun, but I have no process, and I feel like I'm flailing around once the paper gets wet. Should I look up a formula and stick to it, or is there another way to ease the angst that comes from digital detox? So yeah, I think this also is a similar like a similar thing where you've kind of got to get into the mess of it. And now, Steve, because you've been working professionally for 10 years, you probably have some sense of like how to navigate it and how to use some like tools and resources. So I don't think that's a bad idea, but I feel like sometimes, especially if you've been doing art for a really long time, and I resonate with this, when you look up a resource and then you go and you try to execute and you can't, there's this very discouraging feeling because you've been doing it for a decade, right? It just with a different medium. So I almost feel like going in blind without the resources is a better approach, at least at first, because then you can get a sense of how it feels, first of all, but then also kind of let go of this it's bad mentality. Like it will feel bad, but what I want you to ask instead, and like changing your intention from I got to make this good to what do I see in this, what do I like about this. And again, like having a journal or a notebook and like just taking notes on things, but letting it exist first, making it badly, and I'm sure this is all stuff that you've heard and you know, but from there iterating and saying, okay, if I make this movement with the brush, I know that happens. Do I like it? No. So you don't do it again. Try it a different way. Try a different brush. Try different paint. Like one of the things that I've realized with traditional is that there with digital, it kind of I mean there are lots of different ways to get to a final product, but I feel like with traditional, not only are there different mediums, but like there's different there's different brands, there's different types, like there's different feels to all of them. And so I kind of realized that it can get sort of overwhelming. But don't be afraid to try that stuff because I've noticed that trying different tools introduces me to different feelings, different experiences as well. And again, you're not going to know any of this without just like getting into it and making a mess. And maybe going into it with the intention of like, let's fuck this up. you know? Like that's so empowering because you know that you can make a mess. You know that like if someone were to ask you like do it well, you would fight. But if someone were to say just ruin it, you'd be like, "I'm in. I could do that." And that's going to it sounds silly, but that's going to build your confidence while at the same time exposing you to here's what it feels like to use this material. And then when you found some sense of confidence in this new medium, then you can start to look for resources when you don't feel so like, baby deer, like walking for the first time. But I do think it helps to not show anyone, specifically in the really early stages, and also address the things that come up when you do it. So, you're some of the things that you've mentioned here, like that angst that comes from it. I would listen to whatever that voice is saying and take some notes on that and do some writing on that. Where does that come from? Why do you believe that? How does that bleed into your professional work, even? And I think that by exploring a new medium, especially one that makes you very uncomfortable, you're going to pull back the layers of lots of things that may even get in the way that you weren't aware of, even in your professional work. Just slap anything on when you see. Oh, Van Gogh quote: "Slap anything on when you see a blank canvas staring at you in the face like some imbecile. You don't know how paralyzing that is, that stare of a blank canvas, which says to the painter, you can't do a thing. The canvas has an idiotic stare and mesmerizes some painters so much that they turn into idiots themselves. Many painters are afraid in front of a blank canvas. But the blank canvas is afraid of the real, compassionate painter who dares and who has broken the spell of you can't once and for all." That's really beautiful. I've never heard that quote before. Steve, it might help, and as a streamer as well, I'm like, I totally understand this. It might help to not stream some of it. That was one of the rules that I set for myself when I went on my abstract adventure was my first pieces I was not allowed to show anybody. Like, don't show. I didn't even show like my friends, my family, any of that. Like, it was all private. And there was something about that that really let me just let go. Like, I wasn't worried at all about what anyone would think because nobody would see it. And by the time I was showing people, I already was like, hell yeah, I love this. This is so much fun. Like, I love how this is turning out. I really feel like I've developed a style from this. And so it didn't matter at that point. But I think when it's all really new, it feels like it matters a lot. It feels like when you show someone something that you have never done before, that makes you feel kind of like juvenile. Like to me, like when I started with this stuff, it felt kind of juvenile. I felt like a total beginner again. I felt like, I'm wasting my time. That was a big one. I was wasting my time. And that voice is really mean and really critical, but if you can do some of it behind the scenes and really let yourself go and really let yourself experiment, you're going to figure out what it is that was missing, and it feels so much better not to have someone looking over your shoulder. And here's the thing, not that Twitch chat is like looking over your shoulder and judging you, but I think that sometimes it can feel that way, um, to whoever's, on the other side of the camera. And I think once you gain a little bit of confidence in that, you'll feel a lot better about it.
Lemon.
Yeah, so like you said, you were happy with when you did off stream. And I don't know if you feel this way, and this is something I've had to work through as well with streaming, is that when I'm on camera specifically, but also just like live, there is a tension that happens where my body gets a little tense. It's a lot better now. It's a lot better. And I haven't really like talked about it at all. But my body gets a little tense. My mind tends to go to certain places where it's like, what are people thinking? Am I doing the right things? Like this and that. It's a lot of like thoughts that have nothing to do with the art. And I find that can be really distracting from art. So if you turn off the stream, I think you can let your mind focus more specifically on the work itself. And I don't know, and I'm not like speaking for you or anything, it's just my experience, but I don't know if you feel that way when stream is on. But if you do, I would practice getting really like comfortable with how it feels to just be observed, which sounds weird because you're a streamer, right? So it's like, you know what it's like. But getting yourself to remain calm and comfortable even while you're being perceived. And to be honest, I think that's like, doing a bit of breath work or like being aware of your body. Things that like nobody talks about in doing all this. Like it's not something that's like very separate from the art stuff, but it's something I've experimented with just into recognizing how I feel both mentally and physically. And that's not something we're taught at all. I mean, unless we have like parents who know what they're doing. Love you, mom, but yeah, I had to learn a lot of this myself. Maybe in denial about the camera has been streaming so long I fooled myself into thinking it doesn't affect me. Same, Steve. Like there was I had to do a lot of this digging when it came to the stream stuff as well. And what I realized was that just like there was a lot of pressure and my mind could never focus on the right things when I was streaming until I recognized like, oh, that's actually something that's going on.
Lemon.
And it's super insidious. Like we don't, unless you kind of like take a breath and ask yourself like, what am I feeling right now? What's going on in my body? What's going on in my mind? And like, how often do we ask that? Like it's really not at all. Um, but you don't necessarily need to do it in the sense of like while you're live, be like, okay, guys, I'm gonna take a moment. I mean, you can if you want, but for me, it tends to just be taking a breath or focusing in on the art and kind of like grounding myself through the creativity. But I feel I'm able to do that because I spent so much time working through a lot of this stuff in private. So, yeah. And as content creators, I think it's kind of hard to feel like we can have that private space because so much of our existence is like the world can watch at any time. So, I think it's important that we have that time. Martin, thank you for the follow. Kaya, thank you for the follow as well. Appreciate you both. Aw, Knox, I'm really happy to hear it. But Steve, navigating a new medium, I think is just really scary in general, and I think it's going to bring up a lot of things that we haven't felt in a while. Um, especially, it sounds like you and I have a similar story. We've both been doing this for 10 years, and it's like you kind of get used to the routine, like the process of things, and kind of numb other things out, you know. So yeah, I hope you find your way. I've definitely felt similarly with painting. I feel like I've been doing it more and I love doing it. Like it feels good to do it. But um, I definitely feel like baby deer walking for the first time. And the ironic part is I've been painting digitally for so long that I'm like, why can't I paint with acrylics? Why can't I paint with oil? Like what? Why am I so like, ee? But I just think it's practice. A medium I haven't tried that I would like to use. Um, think about that for a minute. I feel like I've tried a lot. Nexie and I were talking about how it would be really fun to work with clay. And I've used clay a long time ago, when I was in high school, but I think it would be really fun to do like some sculpting of portraits, like some busts. But I've never done that before. Like that's something completely new. Absolutely, Steve. Appreciate you coming in. Hey, bro. But yeah, if so, I know we mentioned the creativity quiz a little while ago. Did anybody take the creativity quiz? Anyone who, I guess, anyone who hadn't taken it, but also if you have taken it, did your answer change? There's this wonderful, totally not wallet crippling, totally not addicting hobby called Warhammer. Yeah, I've also thought about miniature painting as well. I think miniature painting would be really fun, especially with the fact that I'm making figurines now out of my characters, and I have, I've got models to paint, but I just, yeah. Speaking of figurines, I don't know if you guys can see Dayanora here, but she is being released today. So if you guys want to get in on this, I've got some. There's 100 colored versions, color fully painted versions, and then there's 50 unpainted. So any of you miniature painters, she is available. LS dropped the link exclamation point figure in chat if you guys want to check her out. If you're viewing anywhere other than Twitch, you'll have to join our Twitch chat to see the links properly. But She is finally live. I've got a post going up, I think around noon. So she's gonna be. You'll get the figurine, and then you'll also get a print. This is what the print looks like. This was my original illustration. The print is gonna be slightly larger than this one, though. This is just the only example that I have right now. But yeah, two babes. I have her over on the wall there, and a little shelf next to her. Yeah, she has been she was God, how many years ago did I paint this? It was quite a while ago, but she's always been a favorite of mine, and she's always been the horned lady that I always post up on socials whenever everyone's like, "We need horned lady on the timeline." I'm like, "I got you." So I've been sharing her for years, and so I was really excited that she's the first figurine um that I'm getting produced. So we've got pre-order launching today, which is very exciting. It'll be running for about a month, I believe, but we're gonna sell out before then. So, Bit to Real did. So I've been working with Bit to Real to develop her, and that's the site that she's listed on as well. So you guys are officially the. I mean, I've only really mentioned it on stream as like a hint, but you guys are the first to hear about her and the launch. It hasn't even gone up on socials yet, I don't think. This is Egbert. Was it Egbert or Egathy? Egathy was who we named the egg yesterday. This is Egathy. I think I'm almost done with this one. I'm still like on the fence. Like, what do I want to do about the circle spaces? I might develop the crescent a little bit more as well. I also might decide to just um, put it down too and maybe come back to it because I have the other abstract ones to work on.
Lemon.
And Rip, thank you so much for the follow. If anybody else has any other art related questions, if you're going through art block, also if you have any like art business questions or social media stuff, I'm also here for that as well. Self marketing is very difficult. Grant, what makes you say that? What do you struggle with it? Struggle to revisit something I'm working on after one session. Always try to finish it in one go. Is it hard, Knox? Is it hard to have the same amount of excitement after taking a break and then coming back to it? I think this is something um, that my abstract work has kind of helped me accept is that like it's okay to put something down when you feel like you're done with it, like you don't really want to spend more time on it. That's something that I felt was a little bit harder to do with my portraiture and with my character work because, you know, if the character doesn't have eyes, is it still a character? But I guess that like also kind of leans in a little bit to like if we're talking more abstract, like maybe we don't need to add those things. But if you're leaning more towards like realism or like a certain level of refinement, I think it's harder to put some projects down, even when we really want to. Lose excitement, maybe notice the things I don't like. Oh, Knox, this is really important because I think in those moments, it like those are things that you can definitely overcome. And I think that you should stick with them or maybe at least just write them down so that at a later date you can work on them. But here's why I think it's hard to keep going when you see those things. So most people, when they get to a certain point in their piece, they'll start to notice things may not be working out. Like there's something off, maybe there's a few things off. And I think what gets overwhelming is feeling like you have to finish all those things before you can actually move on or before you can call it done. You don't have to. Um, so I would recommend taking a look at those things that don't feel like they're working out or feel like you don't like. Focus on one, work on that, and then move on from the piece so that you get this sense of I'm learning, but also I'm allowed to opt out from this at any time. Like I'm allowed to step away when I choose. And also, I get to learn when I choose. I think this is what makes, like, being able to say that and do that makes art much more enjoyable and far less pressuring because you're not sitting there going, I have to do these 10 things before I can finish this piece. And therefore, this piece is going to take me forever. Um, all I did when I was developing my character work was when I got towards the end of the piece or what felt like the end of the piece, I would take one thing and I would just push that and then I would be done. And that helps a lot. All right, guys. Wait, did the ad already roll? Ads? Okay, so ads might be coming. If you guys want to take a little bit of a break, I'm going to pause on the conversation for a minute, but we'll pick it back up. I just don't want anyone to miss the conversation. So ads incoming. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. It's every hour just so we can get them out of the way and pre-roll ads go away. So yeah, feel free to take a break and I'll pick this back up. I don't even know when the ad's playing. I can't see it. So you guys will have to let me know when it's done. Oh, you guys already have the ads. I'm so sorry. Why is Okay, so it says 61 minutes pre-rolls off. So Elvin, why don't maybe we should do it like 5 minutes before. So maybe like 55 minutes. I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm gonna also have some tea. Hi Titan. Yeah, the ads are annoying. I'm trying to like time them properly so that we know when to take a break. Yeah. Well, you guys are in ads and I'm waiting to uh waiting to continue the convo. I'm going to add some more to this. Hi Lost, how are you? Oh my glob. It's Sai. How are you doing, Lost? Oh my glob. All right. All right, ads clear? Did ads pass, y'all? I will keep on keeping on. We've got a couple more questions in chat. Oh, Ja, I love it. Clear for me. All right. So we talked about revisiting work after one session. Yeah, I think to wrap that up, it's really just about figuring out, like knowing that you can stop at any time, but also if you feel like there's more you want to do or it's not meeting an expectation that you had for it, incorporate one thing, work on one of those things that you don't like, and then in future sessions, you can tackle those other things. Zaid asks, for your prints, do you do them yourself? What advice would you give to someone trying to sell prints of their traditional and digital work? So my prints, I don't do them myself. I have considered getting a printer, especially since next year I'm going to be doing conventions. I used two different platforms. I used Snapfish for my smaller prints, and then I was using, there was a place called Lightbox. It wasn't like the convention or anything. It was just like an independent company. I think they're based in Oregon, and they would just ship out to me. So those are the two companies that I used for my prints. These ones here, these are from uh, Snapfish. As far as selling prints, I think one of the things I would recommend is don't just, I mean, you can still do this. You can put your prints up for sale, but I think imposing some sort of like um benefit with them. So like, are they signed? Are they limited edition? Is it a set? Like, for example, I have these four here. These are part of a series that I did, and in my mind, people who collect art are more likely to get something that they can display. Maybe it's like multiple pieces. So like, do sets of work, do series. Um, I think doing just one-off pieces can be really tough if it's not part of like a bigger overall project. But those are just some things that have worked for me, some things that I would recommend. Obviously, try things, iterate, explore. Um, Sometimes it's just as simple as asking, hey, I have prints for sale. Would you like to buy some? And a lot of people struggle with that. One of the biggest things whenever I work with students and they're like, no one's buying my work, what do I do? I'm like, are you posting about it? Are you talking about it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, how are we supposed to know that it's happening? So I would, regularly talk about the fact that you're selling your prints, but also experiment with things that get people who collect art excited. So limited edition stuff, signing it, doing a set. Yeah, lost. I've just been like offline pretty much. I think that was another big part of my exploration with my work was just not sharing it, working on it in private. And I don't know, I really actually enjoyed that a lot. I'm back here now. I'll probably be posting more of the abstract stuff as well as my character work, but um yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like. It's just kind of taking it day by day. I am doing cool stuff though. I talked about how we've released Dayanora as a figurine and a print here. But yeah, this has been some cool stuff that I've been working on behind the scenes. This has been in the works for about a year, I think. Actually, it might even be over a year. But yeah, so I've been waiting to talk about this and finally release this for a very long time. Zaid, I would just post about it. Um, I think it's really easy to get in your mind about how it has to be done in a certain way. I would just post, let people know, and then depending on whether or not you make sales, if you don't make sales, revisit your approach. Maybe you want to try something else. If you do make sales, pump that up, do more of whatever that was. But there's there's going to be people that tell you that there's a right or wrong way. The problem I have with that is that your approach, your whatever's sustainable for you and feels right for you is going to be something that you can continue to do. Whereas like if someone gives you advice and then you go and post that way, maybe it'll work, but how do you feel about that? Will it actually work? I think there's a lot of things that can get in the way of continuing doing it. Um, I know a lot of artists don't want to feel like they're being really salesy, but you're not like convincing them to buy it. You're just giving them the opportunity and they're allowed to say yes or no. Like when you post about, hey, I have something for sale, it's not forcing anyone into making that like purchase. Hello. What are you doing? What are you doing? What's this? Oh, chocolate. I have chocolate. Thank you. Chocolate. Hi, Yuzma. Yuzma's back in here. I have chocolate. Breakfast. Okay, I'm gonna put this guy aside for now. I'm gonna work on one of the other ones. I might come back to him. Mm. I'm gonna work on this one now. So those of you who weren't here yesterday, I started all these yesterday. I have multiple. And chat helped me pick out colors and shapes, and then I go in and I do the abstract drawing on top. So, yeah, I don't know where it's gonna go. Rip asked, what do you think is a realistic amount of time to spend studying on a daily, weekly basis? Rip, this is a really good question. And my recommendation here, I teach the same thing in my boot camp. I tell all my students this. Minimum of 30 minutes a day, I think is enough to see serious results. More is fine. It's also fine to take, spread those out or, not do it daily. That's also okay. But I've seen really good results from my students. A minimum of 30 minutes, 5 days a week, having a few days off, and then getting back to it. Now, what that looks like when you say studying, I think it's really important though that whatever you're studying relates to whatever project you are currently working on. Otherwise, I feel like that studying, we tend to forget it if we're not applying it to our work. And we also have a really hard time bringing ourselves to do it if it's not meaningful to us, meaning how can we use it right now? So, any amount of time that you spend studying, I would make sure that it's something that's going to benefit what you're working on. So, if you're drawing a portrait and let's say you get stuck on drawing the nose, then your study session for that day could be 30 minutes of just drawing noses. And then you can take that back to your main work or your bigger projects. And then that work starts to feel the studying starts to feel very meaningful, and it won't feel like you're just forcing yourself to go down this checklist of, okay, I have to learn anatomy and composition and like the whole list, all the things that people say we need to learn. Shrek Wazowski. Guess that's also my issue. I feel like you need a degree in business as well as working on your art. Feels like a lot to be on top of posting on socials, interacting. So Grant, I get where you're coming from. Actually, I want to talk about this before I start
Lemon.
drawing. I get where you're coming from because it really depends on how you're approaching it. Um, for someone who's trying to make it on social media and kind of craft their business more around like working with brands, doing commission, like independent commissions, things like that, like you may need more of a presence on social media, but I don't think you need a business degree. Um,
Lemon.
when I started, and even now, there's still things that I'm like, I'm still learning 10 years in. But when I started, I was this naive, dumbass 22-year-old. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing at all. And I would even argue that when I didn't know what I was doing, things were happier and more successful, but I won't get into that now. Um, I didn't know what I was doing, and I just learned as I went. And one of the things that really helped me, and I know people thought I was being like ironic when I posted about this, but one of the things that I did while I painted was I just watched videos on how to organize my creative business, how to market my work, and all of that stuff kind of subconsciously stuck as I was drawing. So I'd have all this time spent drawing and then all these hours of watching this educational stuff and, taking notes as things came up. And for me, learning about the marketing and the business side of it felt very passive because I was just drawing while I was learning that stuff. So I think when we look at it like, oh, I need a business degree and I need to like do it like really big and perfect, I think what happens is it feels very hopeless. And so I would pull things down, I would lower those expectations and let yourself kind of dip your toe into that education because that education is not as far off as you think. And it's also very accessible now with YouTube. Yeah. How do you feel about people streaming their process when they're still learning? Would it be helpful or just a distraction? Ooh, I have a lot of opinions on this. Um, June, welcome in. Good morning to you as well. So, streaming while you're learning. On one hand, I think it is a really good opportunity to hold yourself accountable. If people know that you are showing up, then streaming could be a really good avenue to show up for yourself and for these people. Now, on the flip side, I kind of get where you're coming from, where it's like, is it distracting? And I think on one hand, yes. And I kind of talked about this earlier when I was answering Steve's question. I think there has to be a moment where you have studio time, which is just your time for experimenting, that is away from people watching. Because if people are watching, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to want to perform. You're going to want to make your art a certain way because that's how you've made it and that's what's, gotten you to where you've gotten. Um, Less so for beginners, maybe, but I think having that private time allows you to think very clearly because nothing else is pulling at your brain, but also you are in a space where it's okay to make mistakes. And if you feel like when you're streaming, if you feel okay making mistakes and you feel okay experimenting while people are watching, then by all means, I think, go for it and maybe even get chat involved in it. Um, but if that feels distracting for you and if that feels daunting for you, then I think having that separate studio experimentation time is very important because if you're not allowing yourself to make mistakes to then figure out like do I like how this looks? Do I like this approach? Then it's going to be hard for you to develop because you need that time to make mistakes to try to just like see what happens when you do something different. Redid the quiz. Seems I'm still an intermediate even after a year, which I don't know what to make of it. Grant, I wouldn't feel any particular way about that just because I feel like that intermediate stage is a very long stage. And oftentimes, like moving into the professional side of it has to do with really feeling comfortable with putting your work out there, getting jobs, feeling that sense of confidence. And that comes with time. I think if there's ever a space where people are going to spend the most amount of time, it's going to be in that intermediate space where it feels like limbo, but you're actually making lots of little progressions in your work that happen slowly with each piece. I would argue that the intermediate period is one of the most frustrating because it feels like you're not making any progress, but it just requires a lot of keep on keeping at it. Just my gripe, sadly, art academics, at least one I went to, doesn't properly train you for that, which should be a big focus. Train artists to make a living. Oh, so talking more about like the marketing side.
Lemon.
Han, thank you for the follow. Nachizamo, Dodmo, thank you all for the follows. I appreciate it. I think one of the things that isn't, I mean, this is why I do what I do, but I think one of the things that isn't talked about either is just the psychology behind creation and also how to address the things that Yisma, Yisma. Hold on, my cat. Why would she decide to put her butt specifically on the tripod? Anyway, um yeah, like that, like how to handle the things that come up while drawing. And I think it's so easy to just ignore those things or push those thoughts away and be like, no, 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 this, this makes me feel bad, so I'm not gonna not gonna deal with it, but I think it's really important that we deal with those things. And the amazing thing about art, and I didn't know this until I was up to here in it, was that it teaches us so much about ourselves and also how we view the world and how we handle life. And most people who you talk to, they think about art and they think, oh, it's just pretty pictures or whatever, but I think it's much deeper than that. um and I'd like to like post more and talk more about that, and I think I've kind of like dipped into it, but it gets into, I really think that creation is necessary for all individuals because of how much of ourselves it exposes. And through that exposure, we can then take that information and go, what am I going to do with this? Um, yeah. So I think we're all meant to create. And anybody, and maybe some people in chat might resonate with this, but anyone who thinks that they're not creative, I actually don't think that that's true. And I think that that's a belief that we develop when we try something for the first time and we maybe don't get it how we picture it, or we maybe don't get it how we're told we're supposed to get it. And then we label ourselves as not a creative person. That's just not for me. I can't do it. But I very much think that creativity is something we cultivate. And I think we all have it. I think we all should experience it because it's going to expose us to so much of ourselves that developing as a person, as a human being, um it's necessary to be exposed to those things. Hi Han, thank you, I appreciate your lurk. Found you through YouTube. Oh, thank you. Hi Fox, you took the quiz and got the lost muse. Ouch, accurate. I'm so sorry. I hope some of the advice in there feels helpful to you. And if you want to talk about that more, I'm happy to chat with you here too. Hi Stylix. You think creativity comes once you're comfortable with the fundamentals. Hard to be creative if you don't know how something works. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think that like think about when we're children, right? When we're children, we naturally just create things, whether it's making a mess, whether it's building things, whether it doesn't necessarily have to be drawing. Um, and no one's telling us how to do it then. And I think the only reason we feel like we have to know what we're doing before we can be creative is because there's this concept that you have to be good at it in
Lemon.
order to be confident in it. And I don't think that's the case. And one of the main reasons that I say that is specifically because of the things that I've uncovered with my abstract work. I love every single abstract piece that I do. I really don't care what anyone thinks of it. I love every single abstract piece that I do. And most of them, while I do think about the fundamentals, most of them are just like a pure expression and whatever my brain sees. So, and I love every single one. So, to me, I don't think that we have to know all the fundamentals to feel confident and happy in our creativity, but I do think that learning the fundamentals happens when we develop that curiosity about what does this mean? Why do I like this? Why do I want to experience this? So I think this goes back to everybody can be creative, but there are expectations that society, that our peers, whoever, put upon us and make us feel as if it has to be a particular way to be acceptable. Um, A big one that came up like in my high functioning burnout exploration was things being wasteful, and also things not being valuable. I think society puts so much emphasis on do it fast and do it well. And I mean, I didn't realize like the the problem that created in how I felt about my work. And again, like, what you do with it and where you want to go with it and like what exactly you're making may make the fundamentals a bit more important, but I don't think that we need the fundamentals to feel confident in our work. I think we need to ask the question, do I like this? And know what to do with that statement. And if the answer is yes, keep on doing that. And if the answer is no, that's where you explore and iterate on what are my options? What do I want to take away from this? And it's also okay to just say like I don't like this and not internalize it as I'm a bad artist. Those are two separate things. Titan, I would love to hear more of what you mean when you say creativity is best expressed with limitation. June, thank you for the follow, by the way. Appreciate it. How are we doing on the ads here? Where are we at? I'm seeing 37 minutes. Oh, I'm glad to hear it, Fox. Thank you for coming in to hang out with us. I have, I think, I mean, I've spent a lot of time around other artists, and I feel like that's why I understand this, but also I've gone through all of it. I think there's been periods where I've gotten some really kind of ridiculous comments from people saying like, "Oh, you don't get it. You're a good artist." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, hold on." I didn't just come out of the womb like this, all right? Like I've gone through it too. So yeah, I've definitely experienced it a lot, and I think when people take the creativity quiz specifically, they're like, "How did you know?" And I'm like, we could talk about it. How do I say your name? Is it Jesse or Jeese? Jesse, maybe? There's only one S though. May I ask what camera you use for your streams? I love the quality for seeing how you paint. Fun fact, this is just my iPhone. I have an iPhone 11, so it's quite old. Um, but
Lemon.
I have a Mac and my phone wirelessly connects to the Mac and I can use the camera for my streams. Sensationalist, thank you for the follow. Ugh. Creativity expressed with limitation. I think it helps with figuring out workarounds or sticking with the limitation, which I think help brings a lot out of some projects. Also helps with starting as well. That's really interesting. I think I agree with you. I don't necessarily know if we always have to have limitations, but even in my abstract work, like for example with this, chat decided what colors and what shapes went down, and from there now I'm given sort of a place to start. So I think I can get on board with what you're saying. That's a weird shape, not gonna lie. We're gonna I'll work on it. I'll work on it. Don't worry. Tips on how to find an audience. I know I need to post more frequently, but over the years, it feels like I'll never break out of my small friend group of likes, reposts, or gain any new eyes on the stuff I want to make. So I feel like I'm doing it wrong. June, I think this is a great question, and it's probably something that a lot of people experience. I do think as social media has changed, growing has gotten a little more challenging. I think at the core of it, though, um, having those connections, talking to people, connecting with them, connecting with their audiences, that's a really good place to start when you're small. And I think, um, sorry, I'm reading your message again. When it comes to finding an audience, I think the other really important thing before anything else is knowing who you're speaking to and maybe knowing like a little bit of what the end game is. Like I think if your goal is to connect with more artists or like teach other artists, like you'll want to focus more on the educational side of things and sharing that stuff. Um, if it's more about collectors and like selling your work specifically, then I would focus more on the storytelling of your work and also injecting a piece of who you are. And I know this is hard for us artists because we like the art is this is us, right? Like the art is us. And so a lot of times we don't want to put ourselves out there, but I do think telling a story with your work, where does it come from? What has been your experience with creativity? What do you believe about creativity? What are your values? But also connecting your art with the rest of you. So the other things that you enjoy. How can you kind of synthesize your creativity with other aspects of you that creates this, a brand of who you are? I think this is what helps people remember you as well as how you connect with someone on another level. Now, of course, you can just like show a piece of art and someone can be like, oh my God, I love that. I want to buy it. But I think more often than not, people really connect with other people, even if it's through creativity. So I wouldn't be afraid to share more of you and talk more about what you believe in. And I think this really helps to, first of all, it helps take the pressure off of having to post a piece of art every day because that is exhausting, but it also lets your followers relate to you, which I think helps a lot in growing an audience or building a community around the stuff that you do. And of course, the consistency of posting is really important. It doesn't need to be every day. And also, I will say, I've had people like I've taken breaks from social media before without like explaining myself, and I've had people message me and be like, "Are you okay?" um so I also just I take a break when I need it as well, and I also don't post if I don't feel like I have anything that I want to say. And this is something that I think a lot of people struggle with because it's like, how do I be consistent? But also, what if I don't have anything to say? And I think there can be a balance. Maybe setting a goal for yourself that's like the minimum, and just meeting that as often as you can, and slowly building on that. But don't be afraid to take breaks either. I do that all the time. There's periods where like I won't post anything for 2 weeks, and I don't know. It doesn't bother me like it used to, but I think it bothers a lot of people who are trying to be consistent. But I think in the beginning, especially as you're building a following, it is important to have some level of consistency, even if it's like you show up once a week or something. I don't think, Silex, I don't think anyone should have to speak on anything that they don't want to speak on. And I feel like saying things like, for example, that you think artists who don't speak on politics are pathetic, I feel like that's a bit unfair to the creators who are out there. Like a lot of people use creation as a way to, I mean, like feel better, right? And so it's something like politics, which is like very on edge, like lots of stress. Sometimes people just want to get away from that. And for many people, social media, like their accounts, that's their space, you know? And if they don't want to bring that into their space, I think that's their choice. And I think having a really strong opinion about what other people do with their spaces is, I don't know if it's anybody else's place. Yeah. I think that it's your space. You should be able to do what you want with it. And why should anyone else have a say? Yeah. And for, people who feel that way, like they feel that they should be able to have a say in what other people are posting, or other people should post what they want to post. I don't understand why they just don't follow the content that doesn't post what they want to post. Like, move on. Let them have their space. Let them do what they want to do. I think that really goes back to, like, not uh, not having to explain yourself. Even with like taking a break, where it's like, no, this is your space, and you're allowed to use it however you want. Kind of related to Silik's question, using Twitter as a platform to post work and connect. Refuse to use the site, but I feel like I'm hindering my social growth. I would use whatever sites you feel excited about. Because here's the thing. Let's say you decide to use Twitter, but you absolutely hate using Twitter, then you're not going to be very consistent with it. You're probably going to post every once in a while. And then when you get on the site, you're going to be like, oh my God, it's a dumpster fire. Why am I here? So that's not really helpful in terms of consistency either. So I would pick whatever platform speaks to you and know that with consistency and time and effort, you're going to grow no matter where you go. So if it doesn't speak to you, I wouldn't use it. Um, Twitter is my preferred platform only because I've been using it for so long and it's my biggest platform, but it doesn't have to be everyone's. Um, it really doesn't. I would, when deciding on a platform, I would pick what you enjoy using the most, and then start there. Oops. I think my tea's cold. I forgot about it. This is kind of related to that question. This is one of the things that I think stops us up in art as well, where in the same way with social media, we kind of feel like there's a certain way to do it. And with our art too, it's like people tell us, oh, you should be making art this way, or else, you're doing it wrong. And I think it should always come back to, what do you want from it? Like, what do you enjoy first? And then tailor your experience with, here's how I can incorporate more knowledge from there. I think it's so important to do what you want before anything else and then build, because you're going to hate it. Like, think of it this way. If you were building a business, right? And you were the type of person that likes to travel the world, and if you built a business where you always had to be present in that business, like you always had to show up, you always had to be in person, you wouldn't be able to travel anymore. And so, therefore, your life would not function as you intend. You wouldn't be able to travel. You would be stuck at this business that you've built. And to me, it's important to build the business, and I'm using business as like a blanket term for like our art, our social media, whatever. It's important to build the business around the life you want to have. Otherwise, you can end up building yourself into something that you still don't enjoy. And I think this is something that a lot of people who begin their art journey do, because instead of asking themselves, how do I want to do this? They look to everyone else who says, do it this way, this way, this way, this way, instead of, what do I want? And then knowing that that can grow as a result. I think, especially when people are starting anew, it's hard to trust our own instincts because it feels like, oh, I'm a new artist. I don't know what to do. But you do know what you want from it. And I think that should be the place where you start. And what you want from it is drastically going to change your approach. And that's something I always keep in mind when I'm teaching, because everybody has different goals. Not everybody is just showing up to do it the same way. And I feel like I would be a horrible teacher if someone showed up and was like, I want to do it this way. And I was like, okay, well, ignore that. Instead, we're going to do it my way, because that doesn't make any sense. My way is not everybody else's way. And the life we want to live is not all the same. So the advice shouldn't be the same either. But the problem is, especially with a lot of these voices that are really well known, they talk about how their way is the best way and the only way. Or if you don't go to this school, you're not going to get this thing. And it's like, actually, that's not the way that it works. And I kind of feel like I'm living proof of that, because everybody told me, like, art's not a job, don't go to art school, whatever. I didn't go to art school. I didn't go to college at all, and I've been running my business for nearly 10 years now, and I didn't have any formal training. And no one said, like, oh, you'll be able to do it on social media, you'll be able to do it this way. I just did what sounded fun, and then this all came from it. And I think if I'd gone down the path where someone had told me, hey,
Lemon.
you got to do it this way, I don't know if I'd still be doing it, because it wouldn't speak to me. It wouldn't feel like an extension of me. It would feel like I'm just following some formula that someone told me to do, because I, I don't even know. I didn't do that. And anytime that I did look for resources, I think what's really important is to take what resonates from those resources and then incorporate it into your approach, and then
Lemon.
grow that. Take little pieces from everybody. Don't follow like one particular thing and hope that it's going to work. Listen to something, take what sounds good to you, listen to something else,
Lemon.
take that, and keep doing that until you have created your own approach, your own view, your own life experience. And I think the same is to be said with
Lemon.
art, where, a lot of people want to follow one particular person to teach them how to draw, but take what works from them and then try something else, and take what works from that and try something else, and keep adding to your arsenal. But ultimately it's going to become yours when you do it that way. And it's not going to be a recreation of what someone else has done. Thank you all for the follows, by the way. Grand Blue, Studio Tez, Titan, uh, Luca Ren. Thank you all so much. Just got a bunch of follows. Just boom, boom. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you, LS. Yeah, you guys, LS has been here with me through it all, and he's seen the moments of me also like second guessing it and like, do I do this? Do I do that? And I think it's pretty safe to say that in almost all the experiences I ended up having to make the decision based on what I wanted and not what everybody else wanted. And that's hard to do. Glad to have you, Blue. Thanks for coming in. Yeah. And, the fun thing about where I'm at in my creative journey is that my abstract work kind of feels like a representation of that rebellion against it all, where it's like, I've spent a third of my life developing this work, and I feel very proud of it. But a lot of this work was developed on those rules, it felt like, where it was like, it has to look a certain way and be a certain way. And a lot of those rules were self imposed. But now with my abstract work, it's kind of this experience of I don't have to follow those rules anymore. And I also don't have to listen to, the voice in my head that says, all the things that I've picked up along the way, all of the beliefs and things like that. Um and I think that's really empowering as well. Knowing I don't have to follow any guidelines, I can just express myself. And I think intuitively I knew this for a long time, and that's, where it eventually came from when I started doing this work. But it took a lot of wrestling my own brain to get to that point. Oh, I'm glad to hear, Wolfga. Your mom wants you to do more abstract work to express yourself. If you feel like it's what you want to approach or experiment with, and by all means, um, I think if you feel that, you've got all that expression that you're looking for, I don't think you necessarily have to try something new, but I was in a place where I think it was really important that I did.
Lemon.
Lemon. Juju, thank you for the follow. Oh, thank you, Losty. It definitely didn't turn out how I ever thought it would. And Lost, you've also been there since like, my God, the early, early days. And like, firsthand just how like I had no clue what I was doing. I was just, and to some extent, still feel this way. I'm just some idiot on the internet making art and enjoying what I do. Like, and I think what what we get mixed up along the way is that like
Lemon.
it has to look a certain way. It needs to be professional. It needs to whatever it needs to be. But I really don't think it does. I think we just need to experience it. Yeah. Abstract stuff is really fun. Some people find it really hard to do, which is interesting. I like I don't know how I would ever find it like hard to do unless I was trying to create like unless I was trying to control it. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I feel like abstract art is something that you almost have to let go of and let something within you kind of bring it out. Um yeah, I don't know. And I go back to those times a lot, Lost, where I think about like cuz things have changed a lot through the journey, and I think a lot about like what has changed, what do I miss, what do I want to like reincorporate back into my work and my process. And really the core of all of it was what I missed the most about the early days of creating was just creating work and connecting with people. Like just talking to people, getting excited about art, sharing that with others. Like I almost feel like, and this isn't necessarily advice, but like this is something I've been speculating on. I almost feel like it's more important to create what you want, like very passionately, and share it with people that you really care about. And I think the rest figures itself out in like a weird way. Like, again, not advice, but I feel like that was my experience. And I really enjoyed that. And there was a period of time, like very early on, where like I didn't think about money. I didn't think about making a career out of it. And like things just happened and it happened very organically. And I really enjoyed that process. And yeah, I don't know. I think about that a lot. And I think about what it looks like to go back to that. Um, because, as things got more professional and like serious. The approach changed a bit, but yeah, it's interesting to think about. For a long time now, I've ignored exciting ideas popping up on what to draw. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's fear of failure or thinking I should study other stuff before attempting those ideas. It's exhausting not letting go and just do it. Here's the thing, Silex, and I know it feels more complex than this because I've been there. I think that you should just do it because I think there's this idea that we have to like build up to it. We have to like prepare for a thing. When in actuality, we're going to get the most experience and the most exposure to learning something by doing that specific thing. So, for example, let's say that you're like, I want to draw characters, but I need to study every little piece of the anatomy. It's not going to stick in the same way that it will that if you try to draw a figure and then you notice all the things that aren't working and then you apply those studies, your memory of that is going to look so different than if you were to just go down a list of like, here's the arms, here's the legs, here's the torso, here's the face. Like applying it to what excites you and just going in and drawing it, seeing what you mess up and then fixing it, that is where the learning really happens. But we get told, and I think, and I talked to Nexi about this recently, we get told that we have to follow this formula and do it this particular way, um, by professional artists. And it feels like these formulas are created to make the process of making art more digestible. But in actuality, it's much easier when you step back from those predetermined, here's how you do it, and you just draw the thing you want to draw and then pinpoint what you need to work on, and then look at the world around you and draw those things around you to then begin to understand them. Like I teach more about how to see the world and how to incorporate what we see in the world into our work rather than a set in stone way of here's how you draw this particular thing. Here's how you do this particular thing. Because that method never worked for me. And to be quite honest, for the first 3 years of drawing, all I did was draw what I wanted. And if I got stuck on something, I would find a reference or I would um, ask for feedback. And then I would take that back to my work and then just work that in, like problem solve with that. But a lot of people don't do that. It's it's interesting when I hear about how people are learning, and also when people get really burnt out, it seems like they're in this process of, oh, I followed this guide but it didn't work, and so I felt like a failure, and so I tried a new guide and that didn't work, so I felt like a failure. And the amount of times where I'm like, why don't you just draw what you want? And so many people are like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not ready for that. But that is where I believe the most growth happens when you show up to draw the thing that you're like, I don't know how to do this. And then you try, and then you realize, actually, I'm pretty good at some of these things, but also here's some other things that I need to work on. And it's hard to look at yourself like you're basically like look in the mirror saying like here's my flaws, here's my strengths. That's hard to do. Um but I think that's so much of what art is. Yes, Vanta, no failure, only redirection. I love that. Honestly, that's one of the things that helped me fall in love with your art, your process, and who you are as a person. Your interactions with people and your advice was always real. It was always down to earth and factual. It was never the whole fake influencer crap. Yeah, and I think like there's, I think it's hard. Like one of the things that I've taken away from like the social media side of it is that like sometimes even when like that exists a lot, and sometimes even when like that isn't the goal, like people are always going to think something like uh I'm trying to think of an example. I think this is such a silly example. This is very like this is really silly. When I was watching K-pop Demon Hunters, and there was a this is how like insidious some beliefs are about what content creators are like. When I was watching K-pop Demon Hunters, there's the scene where the three of them they were on a call with the manager, and like their fans were there and they were so happy to see their fans and like we're going to protect our fans, all this stuff. And I was like, wow, that's so sweet and genuine, and like I wish more like influencers, for lack of a better term, online were like that. And then I was like, wait a minute, like that's a belief. Like there are people like that out there, and that's amazing, and that makes me so happy because I think I've had a really hard time with connecting with people online because this idea of like influencer, or like when someone has a particular follower count, people get this idea about what they're like. And so I find that, it's easy to be sort of like guarded with like opening up or like being vulnerable. And I've always tried to do that, but it's the more you grow on social media, the harder that is, I think. Part of a weekly online art hang where we do timed reference drawings with different themes. It's a very fun way to challenge yourself. Ooh, I like that. Not everything you make has to be shared either. It can be just for you. I think this gets forgotten a lot. Oh my gosh, all the time. I think I think like with
Lemon.
social media, because there's this concept that like you're going to be left behind or forgotten if you don't post, it feels like we have to post everything. And then if we draw something that we don't necessarily like or we want to experiment, we're like we can't let ourselves do that because someone's going to judge it, or that's the vulnerable part, right? Where, someone's going to see my experiment and they're going to see like I don't know what I'm doing, and like it's all this nonsense. But it makes it really hard to sometimes share. But then also, if we feel like we can't share those experiments, oftentimes those experiments never happen because it feels like, oh, I got to make something for social media, but I can't experiment because then, I'll make a mistake or it won't be what my followers want and this and that. I will say this, I feel like the thing that muddied up creativity more than anything else was the social media side of it. And not in a way that I think we should avoid social media, although I have thoughts on that as well, but more so in a way that like social media is going to expose you to all of your insecurities about sharing your work. And if not properly paid attention to, I think all of those thoughts and feelings and fears and worries, they can get in the way of the creative process. So if you're posting on social media, I think it's really important to stay aware of how social media makes you feel about your work, and also how sharing your work makes you feel, so that if something comes up, you can address it. Otherwise, that stuff can really run rampant and can really affect creative output, when you're not fully aware of how you're feeling or how it's affecting you and your creativity. Oops. Yeah, LS, I think you're right. Okay, by the way, you guys, an ad's gonna roll here pretty soon. I'm gonna take maybe like 5-minute break through the ad. And I want to pause the conversation just so nobody misses it. Also, just to let you guys know, if you want to skip the ads, you can subscribe to the channel. It also supports me. No pressure to do that though. But if you're enjoying the discussion or you're enjoying hanging out, then I would absolutely appreciate that. And it gets rid of ads. They're so obnoxious. But yeah, I'm going to take a quick break and we'll get back to the conversation here in a minute. I'm going to go like pee and do human things.
Lemon.
I'll be back in a couple minutes. I got a cookie. How's the ad? You guys in the ad right now? I realize anyone in the ad can't answer that. Hey, Tez. I really like these. Costco special right here. Hard to eat. Mmm. Brie is some good cheese, gotta say, LS. For breakfast, I had um I've been steaming my eggs in like a little ramekin, so they're like more like gelatinous. Um, Cutting those up with a knife and then pouring some soy sauce over it and having that with rice and cucumber. Oh, so good. It's like my favorite breakfast right now. Honestly, it's probably my favorite meal right now. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's really good. All right. I think that ad is toast. We're good. The stomach just growled lovely. That sounds like somebody's hungry. All right. What else are we talking about today? We've talked about social media, talked about being able to step away from projects. What else are you guys going through? Anyone who took the creativity quiz, if you want to talk about your results as well, I'd love to do that. Hi, Ronan. I'm doing good. How are you? Oh, good to see you. I'm officially back to streaming. Like, officially. I know I've, like, tried to jump back on the train somewhat infrequently over this year, but yeah, I'm back. Vanta, if you want to take the quiz, it's on my website. So if you type !links, actually I think LS just dropped it there. But if you go to silasay.com and scroll down, there is a quiz called the Creativity Quiz. It goes over 10 different creativity types. And for the results, whichever type of creative you are, it also gives you some advice and some feedback about things that you could try to incorporate to help some of the things that you're going through. Not necessarily negative things either. There's some positive stuff, like, you know, even for professionals, and like what to do if you're a professional, and like maybe some other recommendations about, you know, how to approach stuff. So thank you, LS. I appreciate it. I got the overwhelmed. I figured I'd get something related to imposter syndrome or burnout, but overwhelmed seems about right. Zaid, I could definitely see overwhelmed being connected to burnout. It's this kind of feeling of like there's so much to do, but not enough time. And I feel like that leads to burnout very quickly. Oh, Daynor, your arm. Her arm fell off. My girl, I gotta glue her back on. Knocked her over. I'm so sorry. Don't worry, guys. Danor's been knocked over many times thanks to Lenny, and I've had to re-glue pieces. Okay, well, she's gonna be armless for now. That's okay. Speaking of Dayanora, no, yeah, she's fine. She just needs a little, a little glue. But anyway, yeah, I can see that being related to burnout, and I think that comes from feeling like there's so much you need to do in order to keep up or make it happen. This is giving me like this weird Shrek vibes. This one's definitely been interesting. I love how even with a different setup, like you can still see my abstract influence. Like it just kind of yeah, it's there. Titan, you don't have to if you want to throw a fake email in there and then just say, don't email me, that's also fine. Doesn't matter. It's only the only time it'll be used is if you want to receive emails from me, which is just basically the same stuff that I'm talking about here is the same kind of stuff that I email about. So, imposter syndrome, even more stuff on like some of the outcomes. So, like if you're burnt out or overwhelmed or the social media side of things, that's all stuff I email about. You can completely opt out. And if you don't even want to share your email, that's also fine. You can just put a fake one in. The Lost Muse is so accurate for me. I'm stuck in the fundamental why lately. Yes. I think that's so there's a few reasons why the Lost Muse can come up, but I think one of them especially is if you are someone who's trying to do a lot of learning and you lose sight of why am I doing this in the first place? Like, I started drawing because I wanted to draw XYZ, and yet here I am doing all these studies. How is this helping me? It's kind of that same feeling we get when we're in school and, like, we're learning really complex math, and it's like, when am I ever going to use this? Whereas it may not be as complex when it comes to the drawing stuff, but I think it's a similar feeling where it's like, I don't want to do this. I want to draw XYZ, and yet here I am stuck on this to-do list of I have to learn this before I can do the fun stuff. And my biggest recommendation there is revisit the fun stuff. Revisit the actual reason that you started drawing and draw that thing. Even if you don't feel ready, you're going to draw it and realize where you need work or practice, and then you can approach the fundamentals or studying or learning, because then it feels like it has a purpose. Then you're actively learning something that you can then take back to the project that really matters to you. Um, because none of us start drawing because we're like, yay, fundamentals, rules, I can't wait to learn these things. And maybe some do, but most of us don't. So I think the lost muse is really common in situations like that.
Lemon.
You got the overthinker, June. Thank you for the follow, Cap. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How are you today? Actually, I need to check my calendar really quickly. When am I doing stuff today? Hold on. I have some mentorship meetings later on. I just need to check when they are. Um Oh, okay. I've got time. Okay. Got the happy hobbyist despite not feeling like one. Interesting. So, uh, Titan, would you say not feeling like one in the sense you don't feel like a hobbyist, or you don't feel happy as a hobbyist, or something like that? June, does the overthinker feel like it resonates? Not too bad. About to start recording some auditions for voice acting. Oh, very fun. I'm doing good. We are doing a kind of like a group mentorship discussion while I work on some of my abstract work from yesterday's stream. We're doing an abstract series so far. Well, I've got four, but so far we've only started these two. So I've got these two as well to do. So basically, chat picked all the colors and the shapes, and now I'm drawing on top of them. Yeah, we've nicknamed this one Dr. Chicken. This is Agathy, his sidekick. Absolutely. It's paralyzed me from making any personal work for about 2 months now. My longest art block ever. I'm so sorry to hear it, June. I think when you reduce the overthinking, and to do this, this is the ironic part. I feel like to do this, we have to listen to what those thoughts are telling us and decide whether or not they're serving us, or if it's something that we can let go of. And I think it's really important to look at the thoughts and ask that specific question, like, is this serving me? Because most often it's not. Um, and it seems like you know this because you're aware that the overthinking is causing your block. But like getting into the nitty gritty of like, what is the thought? What is it telling me? Is it serving me? And what do I do with it? Maybe it's more my mentality I have towards art, but my mental failure to get my work out there. When you say mental failure to get your work out there, what do you mean? Is it like, are you talking yourself out of it? Facing my demons, boo. I know it's not fun and it's not glamorous, but it helps. I think it's necessary, even though it's difficult. Sounds good, Cap. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you. Could be I have a bit of anxiety when it comes to pushing my work to get feedback or just to post it. So I think that's really common, and I completely understand where you're coming from. I think, it's really vulnerable to put your work out there, and it's, I think, doubly as vulnerable to be like, there's something I don't like about it. Can you also look at this thing and help me with it? Because it's almost like putting your vulnerabilities on display. But I think when you have the right person to share that with, I wouldn't necessarily ask for that kind of feedback in like a public setting if you're already feeling anxiety about it. But maybe asking some friends or some people that you trust can help sort of warm you up to the idea that it's safe to put it out there. And be kind to yourself in how frequently or how often you actually expose yourself to that, because it is going to cause some anxiety and it will be difficult. But I think the more you experience it while realizing that everything's going to be okay, then I think it'll be a lot easier to put your work out there in a public situation. Might not be just finding the right people, maybe just something I could be dealing with internally. I'm not too sure. It's it's tough because on one hand, exposing yourself to more of that is going to be really uncomfortable. But I almost feel like putting your work out there is the next step in helping you move through those feelings. Because if you keep avoiding it, especially if it's something you want to do, it's going to get more painful for you on the other side of things, where it's like it might be really anxiety inducing to do that, but the longer you wait to share the work that you feel you need to put out into the world, that's also going to become painful. So it's kind of the question of like, with what type of pain are you willing to endure, and knowing that one of those is temporary. The pain of putting it out there and feeling anxious about that, that will go away with time. But the feeling of not putting that work out there, that's only going to get bigger. That's only going to get more painful if that is what you really feel must be done with your work. So I think that's something that's important to keep in mind. And if you're going to avoid any pain, at least go for the pain that's going to eventually go away. Um, Especially because it sounds like it is important for you to get your work out. I don't think we'd be having this conversation if it wasn't very meaningful to you. But again, give yourself grace, and it's more of just like food for thought. You can do what you want with this information, but I think knowing kind of the consequences of like doing one and not doing the other, I think helps put it into perspective. Oh, y'all, my Dayanora tweet that was scheduled to go out about her launch is now live. So if you guys want to help out, I would love if you could retweet it or share it or anything like that. And if you want to check out the pre order information, there is a link on Twitter, Blue Sky. You can also snag a link here in chat if you type !figure, and you can go and check her out. Oh, actually, you know what, LS? We gotta update the link because I don't think. Yeah, let me. Uh, LS, Can you update that link actually? Because I totally forgot to do that. If you guys want to check her out, here is. Oops. Here's the link again. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, today she's officially live today. I'm so excited. Hey, Pack, how you doing?
Lemon.
Hello. Thank you for the follow, kitten. How are you today? Working on the same project as yesterday, Pack. How's it going? It's going all right. I'm good. Yeah, I'm really good. We've been on for a little while. We've been working on the abstract stuff from yesterday, so Doctor Doctor Chicken has evolved. We have Egothy here, and then I'm working on this next one. I'm just getting total like Shrek vibes from this, but I'm here for it. I'm glad it was helpful, Titan. I think it's a tough thing to face. But I think it kind of helps to look at it like here's what'll happen in both instances, because really I think whether you decide to do it or not, both are okay. But ultimately the final decision I think should come from what's most important to you. So I always like to phrase it that way. I think a lot of people will look at it in like a black and white way where it's like you have to do it, and if you don't it's bad, but I think both options are okay, whatever you decide you want to do. Ooh, LS, I love it. You pulled in my tweet there. Love it. Thank you. The wax candle ear vibes are so satisfying to look at. I'm loving this little Shrek guy. This might be our Shrek piece. But yeah, they're so fun. I really enjoy these. And it was really fun to have chat join in with picking the colors and picking the shapes. And I mean, I've been doing the abstract stuff now in a way where I think I kind of have like a go-to with some of my shapes. So mixing it up with different shapes, I think really made it fun. Take care, Titan. Thank you so much for hanging out. Glad to have drawn squid worms. Actual animal just from pure deep sea. Squid worms. It sounds like Squidward. This is a weird one. I knew I was going to really enjoy this one, though. One of these days I will do some traditional painting on stream too. I need to Here's my dilemma, chat. There's this easel, okay? And I want you to think about this for 1 second. There's this easel at the art store that I fell in love with. It's tall. It's like 7 feet tall. It's this like white, not white, like a light wood, and it's sturdy and it's got wheels and it's beautiful, and I want it so badly. And it's $300. And I was like, before I buy this easel, I need to actually like sell my traditional work. That's something I haven't done yet. Don't necessarily know if I'm like where I'm at with that yet. But I was like, I need to sell my traditional work first before I allow myself to buy this easel. That was like the rule. Which is so funny because like I'm, run a business, I make money every single day, like it's fine. But I'm like, I need to sell the traditional work before I accept this easel into my life. So I'm like waiting until the moment where I feel that I'm ready to do that. But this easel, it has my name on it. I swear to God, like I will get this easel, but I'm not allowing myself to do it. And I want to use the easel so that I can paint on stream and it stands up and it's visible. And I guess I could do it here too, but I want to work large format. But I'm like, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the moment. And here's the funny thing: I haven't put any of my traditional stuff up for sale, so it's like literally it can't happen until I do that. And so I am the only thing in my way from doing that. Isn't that funny how that works? But anyway, this easel is absolutely beautiful. And I the thing is I can picture it, right? Like I can picture it right in the corner over here and just rolling it over when I'm ready to do my painting on stream. And then it's gonna be this I have these huge canvases back here that I still have not used yet because I need to prop them up and work. But I want to paint the abstract stuff as well. Like I have an itch for it. And I've started it on this one. I've experimented on this one, but you can see my easel back here is tiny. It's like a desk easel and it just slides around. So one of these days, one of these days. Sometimes it feels like stuff that's big enough needs to be a reward to justify. I think so. I think that might be what it is. It's like, I mean, I think there's a part like I do want to sell my traditional work. Um, but there's a part of me that's like, I'm still cooking. You know what I mean? Um, and not in like a self-deprecating kind of way. Like I absolutely love all of these pieces, but I feel like it's still in the oven. Also, if anyone else would like to talk about any of the creative challenges that they're going through, I would love to give some insight, share some experience, have a discussion. I started off the stream with we're doing the group mentorship stuff. I'm still happy to chat about things as I work. For selling traditional work, do you think it's more beneficial to sell prints of them instead? So, Zaid, this is a really interesting question, and it's something that I've been considering as well. There's a part of me that I think I'd rather just sell the originals. Now, this for, if you are a traditional artist and the work that you make takes a very long time, it's likely that it's beneficial for you to sell prints of it because it might take you an extended amount of time to finish your next piece to sell. Alternatively, raising the prices on the limited, the original piece is also really important for traditional work because it's the only one of its kind, right? Um, if you sell prints, the hard thing is that like it really requires you to sell a lot of prints to make a lot of like, if it's just a print, we're talking like not signed, not like a limited special or anything like that. It requires you sell a lot in order to make a decent amount of money, which isn't impossible. But it can be challenging if you're not doing like in-person events or if you don't have a large following. So if you're doing traditional work, I would raise the price of your originals because they are very valuable. And to put it into perspective for you, because I was just talking with Nexi about this. We go to Home Goods and we go to like World Market a lot. And one thing that's always like rubbed me the wrong way is that a lot of the like heavily the like commercially printed stuff is like framed and like there's tons of copies of it, and at those stores those framed prints are still at least like $60-$70, sometimes in upwards of like $150 to $200. And I'm like, I see artists every day selling their originals for like $20, $30, and I'm like, wait a minute, these like high printed like commercially printed things are selling for 60, 70, 80, $100, and yet artists are too afraid to ask for even $100 for their work. And I really think, especially with originals, you got to raise the price on it. And there will be someone to buy it, but I think what's hard for artists, especially those artists who are trying to build a community and a following, a lot of their following is also artists who are trying to grow their following, sell their work. So it's hard to sell to those people. So I would recommend, getting in spaces where people may want to buy art, or they're not necessarily other artists also trying to sell their work. And then I think those higher prices are much more reasonable um, for, just those are the types of buyers that you want to look for. Hello? All right. Okay. Sure. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I think artists are really tentative to really ask for what their work is worth. I think we all have the same reaction. We're just kind of like, what? kind of built like a 30-foot dinosaur sometimes emotionally. See, June, if we're talking like Tyrannosaurus Rex, okay, they got tiny little arms. We got to give them a break. Like if they want to have a bad day, if they want to throw a tantrum, like they got tiny little arms, okay? They deserve that moment. They deserve a little tantrum. Makes sense. Just need to be active in other crowds then. I think the other thing is being okay with asking if people are interested and just putting the work out there. Zeta, it's a little bit of like what we were talking about earlier too, where it's okay to put your work out there and ask, hey, I'm selling this, would you be interested? And not even in a salesy way. I think a lot of artists are like, oh, if I'm a salesperson, I'm a bad person. But like, no, you have to, like, how else are people going to know if your work is for sale unless you say, hey, my work is for sale? And it's not like, I think a lot of artists, I don't know why this is. I think a lot of artists look at asking to be paid for their work as like being a con artist, or like they're like harming someone in any way. But like, when was the last time you ever thought that like someone selling a product was like, oh, you're trying to scam me, or oh, you're a con artist? Like, your art is a product in the same way. And in the same way that people can buy like, God, I don't know, like random shit, they also have the choice to buy your work. And your work is another purchase like everything else. But for some reason, there's like a weird, like, artists have this like idea that they're like, oh no, I'm promoting myself. But that's, there's nothing wrong with that. People sell things every single day. And look at it this way, if someone spent hours and hours building something that you really liked, you wouldn't ask for it for free. You'd be like, can I pay you for that? It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Feel most artists underprice their work because, in their mind, art as a general thing is less valuable than, let's say, food or something you need to survive. I think that that is a belief that needs to be abolished by the people creating art, because art is valuable. The value of it is different to everybody, and the what it's worth is also different to everybody. But it has value, otherwise people wouldn't buy it. The thing is, understanding what value the work has, or why people buy art, can help you understand about how to ask for, who to ask or how to ask. About to be out of a non-art job, and I've always had trouble feeling like my art is good enough to sell. But I'm considering taking a couple of live 2D commissions to feel it out. Quite nervous about it, though, for the reasons you're mentioning. Pack, I would jump in and, treat it how you would any other job. Show up for it. Do the hard work, do your best work. And from that experience, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn what to do next time, what not to do next time. And, you can also communicate to your commissioners like, hey, this is my first time offering commissions for this. Most people are super understanding. So I think you will be just fine, but you've got to get in and get in the thick of it to really learn from it, and be able to develop your approach. But I completely understand why you're nervous. Let's see. Um, hired a friend to help with pricing. He fusses at me when I charge low prices, so that helps. Yeah, I think it's good to have someone remind you, like, come on, you're worth more. I know you're worth more. You got to know you're worth more. Mostly price my art lower because I think if I charge too much, they won't want to buy it. June, let me tell you this. Let me think about how to phrase this. Any time that I worked with clients, the ones that paid the least amount were the most demanding, and the ones that paid the most were the most open. You know, they were like, you're the professional, do it how you would do it. And I've been paid very little, and I've been paid a lot. So both realms exist. However, you cannot be paid more for your work if you don't ask for it. There will always be people who will pay for it, but you have to feel comfortable asking for it.
Lemon.
Oops. Hang on a sec. There we go. And I get that I think when we consider like keeping the price low, I think this comes from a place of like, you really want it to happen, but it will it will happen. But here's the other thing. So like there's the flip side of it where when I started selling my work, I think the lowest I ever sold my work for, and this was like really like quick sketches. When I first started, I sold them for $18 a piece. And like I'm sure there are people that would scoff at that. I scoff at that now. I'm like, "Oh my God, that's so little. Like that's not enough." But that also helped to raise awareness about my work because the price was really good. And then also it showed, as I was pumping all these out, it showed that I was delivering on the promise. And from there, more and more people started talking about it. And then it, the demand for it grew. So on one hand, starting smaller, I think has its benefits. Even free at a certain point. Like, I mean, I've done so many requests as well. Even free, I think, can help grow the awareness and demand for your work. But we definitely shouldn't stay there forever. And we definitely need to feel comfortable asking for compensation for the work that we're doing. And I know that that's hard to do, especially if it feels like you ask for something and then, no one makes a bid. Then it's like, well, is there something wrong with my art? Um, this and that. And I think the answer to that question is if you don't get any bites, on whatever price you're offering, I would just take that time and continue drawing what you're already drawing and developing your skills because that's beneficial as well. And you're not losing out on anything. And the option to purchase something from you is there. Hi, Victor. How are you? Hi, Flog. Good to see you. Whenever I get stuck on, worries about when it comes to like doing anything with my work, whether it's like posting it or trying something new, I always ask myself, what would I have to believe in order for me to not follow through with this thing that I want to do? And oftentimes there's an answer in there as to what to do next,
Lemon.
whether it's abolishing some sort of belief about what I'm capable of or what I'm allowed to do, or sometimes like what I think will happen is not even true and maybe I just need to jump in and do it. Um, and sometimes, again, just building that awareness about what's actually getting in the way can be the only thing we need to actually get through it. Vote for Pedro. Thanks for your follow. Appreciate it. I also want to stress that a lot of this mindset stuff and like working through these things does take time. So I know, like, as I'm stating them, it's kind of like very matter of fact, like, try this, ask yourself this, work through this. But it does take time, and that's also okay. And that's what I mean when I say give yourself grace, because you can hear these things, and the more you come to my stream, the more you're going to hear them. But acting on them and feeling confident on these things are two different things. So, maybe write some of these things down, remind yourself, practice them, journal about them. It's okay for this to take some time, and it likely will. Um, but it's also not something that you have to do alone either. Like, talk to your peers, or connect with like just um, fellow artists, or even like a mentor or a group of people, like something that can kind of hold you accountable and keep reminding you of these things. Um, that really helps. I think if you're kind of doing it all on your own, everything can feel kind of scary and like you're the only one going through it. But I think it really helps to have people around you. Really appreciate you saying these things. Like I said in Blue Sky, I need these printed on my brain. If I could make that happen, I would. But I think the closest thing to that is just repetition, being reminded, and checking in with like how you feel about things, and your beliefs about things. And, I've been streaming quite frequently, almost daily at this point. But if you find that you're struggling with being reminded or keeping yourself accountable, you can always come to hang out at stream. I'm always going to be talking about this stuff. Every time I see your posts on Blue Sky, I read and reread them and sometimes send them to myself to read later. Wish I could bookmark them like I used to do on Twitter. That's one of the hard things about Blue Sky, not having that function. I have thought about I've had a couple ideas about like, how I could utilize the stuff that I post on Twitter and make it like more accessible in like a physical format. I've thought about doing like a calendar, like a daily calendar thing where like every day it has a quote, like something that I've written on Twitter. Or I've even thought about in I have ideas about making a coloring book. Um, and I've even thought about like on the in between pages of the coloring book having these reminders about like it's okay to be this way or that way, or like, how to approach your creativity. I've thought about that as well. And I feel like as a coloring book that would work so well, because it's this like coloring books to me were always this peaceful place of creation where like you just color, like you just color in the lines. You don't, I guess you don't even necessarily have to color in the lines. um but it's like there's no expectation for it to be any way. It's usually not shared. It's a very like personal private space. And so I thought a coloring book would be a really nice space for that, where it was like, here's a place where you can color and enjoy yourself, and then here's a reminder that everything you're doing is right. You just have to keep going. Yeah. Oh, June, I'm glad to hear it. My goal, I think I plan to stream like around the same time here. Some days I might not be able to, or some days I might. I don't necessarily have a schedule. I've just been kind of random because I've got like mentorship meetings and other work stuff going on, but I'll try to pop in the morning. I think that'll be a good time for me. And morning being Eastern time. I'm on Eastern time, so Eastern, not Easter, Eastern. So it's about noon for me here. Hi, Kobu. How are you? It has been a while. How are you, Kobu? Hi Noad. Second time interacting here because I've been lurking. Your daily reminders on social media help me a lot to keep myself grounded. Big thank you. I have a lot of questions, so I hope I will have time to write them down someday on your streams. I would love to have a discussion with you, and I really appreciate you coming in to watch today. I'm glad the tweets have been helpful, or wherever you're seeing it, whether it's on Twitter or Blue Sky. Oh man. When I went out to take a break, Nexie cracked my back, and it was like my whole spine was just like it was rough. It was rough. Usually have morning shift at work. Today is an exception. Usually have Wednesdays off. We'll try to check you for live, maybe work on stuff while hanging out. I love it. You can also, even if you can't make the live stream, you can also just watch the VOD. I don't know. I know that Twitch changed some things with the VODs, but you can, I believe, still watch some of the VODs for a little while. Life's been crazy. Been surviving and kicking. How are you? How the horny ladies doing? They're good. Kobo, I made well. So funny thing, her arm fell off. So don't don't mind that. This was actually a Lenny disaster. Lenny broke her, and I had to glue her back together. But I just released this beautiful lady in a 3D print. So Dayanora, you may have known her from this piece, but I just released her, so I'm super excited about that. But yeah, her poor arm fell off. I actually knocked her over this afternoon, and that's why it fell off again. But initially, it fell off because Lenny. Lenny did a thing. For those that don't know, Lenny is one of my cats, by the way. It was so funny too. I was like I had her in the closet and I was trying to like reorganize some stuff, and so I was in the closet and I had Danora out just like sitting on a shelf, and I turn around and I witness Lenny go just like this. Right in her face. And then she knocks her over and like her wings fell off, her arm fell off, her leg fell off, and I was like literally like I knew that was going to happen, but it's fine. Nothing a little glue couldn't fix. You know, Lenny doing her thing. Also, thank you guys for all the love on Daenora's release tweet, the tweet and the post on Blue Sky. I really appreciate you guys. I'm really excited about this launch, so seeing all of you share it really means a lot to me. Hi Einsteiny, how you doing? Chat, what are we calling this abstract series? Oh, do we have an ad? Okay. You know what? This is a good reminder for me to take a break too. I'm gonna go stretch again. I'll be back in a moment. Abstract. Yeah, I'll be right back. Hello. Everybody watered, fed, happy. I did a little stretch. Uh-oh, I hear Luna crying now. She was asleep by the window, and then when I left, she started crying. Eating now. Nice. Nice, nice. I'll probably have lunch in like an hour or so. Oh, Luna, are you crying? Oh, I feel bad. Luna is a cat, yeah. Um, they're currently not, my cats currently aren't allowed in here because of this this project back here. Um, it was the plaster was wet for a while. It's not anymore, but I don't want them to like scratch it or step on it. And then also all my art supplies are over there, all out. So you know how cats are. They're going to get up there and they're going to knock everything off. So this is the one room in the apartment that they are not allowed at the moment, and they have a really big problem with it. Cats are adorable. They can be menaces, absolutely. Like, and I have three, so yeah. Ooh, Kobe got hot chocolate. Sounds nice. Oh, Luna. Fun fact, Luna is a Siamese cat, so she's very vocal. And if she's not getting what she wants, you will hear her scream about it. Take care, Wolfga. Thanks for hanging out. I would like to get this one mostly done, but I think I'll be okay if I don't get this completely done. Now that this one's dry, like I kind of want to start working on this one. What a fun set though. These colors were so good. I'm so glad you guys picked these colors. I have no idea though what I'm gonna do with this one. Like with these, I kind of had an idea, but this one is so different from what I normally do. So I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how I approach this one. How far off from Crazy Cat Lady's three cats? I want to say when you get to like five or six cats, that's when you're like on the cusp of Crazy Cat Lady. Thank you, Blue. Yeah, I've only really so I put the colors down for all four, but I've only really worked on these two as far as drawing the abstract stuff. So by the end of it, we're gonna have this series from Stream, which I think is really cool. And I want to do this more because I really like how these are turning out. Like the pink and blue in myself. This is Dr. Chicken. He kind of looks like a chicken. Well, here's the thing. So chat, if I turn him this way, do you see anything different? This is the most fun part of it. So like as I turn it, what do you guys see? Make good postcards? Ooh, I think so too. Hey, Tofu with the raid. Thank you, thank you. Can we get a shout out for Tofu? Hi, Evil. Hi, Gore. Hi, Percy. Hi, Camo. How are you doing? Pigeon attack. I love this. Yes, please. Attack me with pigeons. The pigeons. Tofu, how are you? Oh my gosh, it's been such a long time since I've seen your streams. Yeah, I'm back. I'm finally back. How have you been? How's streaming been? The crazy thing is I'm back and I'm doing a ton of abstract work and it's like completely different from obviously from my old work. And of course like I'm still doing portraits, but I haven't done any digital work on stream yet since I've been back.
Lemon.
I'm glad you're doing well. Thank you all so much for coming in. Real quick, my name is Silas A. I'm an art streamer, as you can see. I there's a duality to my work now. I do abstract work and I am also a portrait artist, but I paint a lot of pretty fantasy ladies as well as weird, random, squiggly nonsense. I don't even know. It's just they get weird. They get real weird. But I, as well as painting, I talk a lot about the mental challenges of creativity. So things like art block, imposter syndrome, how to navigate social media, the business side of things. So yeah, I do a lot here, but I'm really happy to have y'all here with me. And Tofu, thank you again for bringing everybody over. What were you working on today? Garen from League. Do you want to share a work in progress? I feel like I know who Garen is, but I can't like I'm fairly certain I've seen him before. Yeah, I would love to see it. Just let mods know before you drop it. I think the bot will kill you. You will get lasered by the bot. Those of you joining in, how many of you are also artists? What do you guys do? Are you digital? Do you work traditionally? Are you just an art admirer? You know, what brings you in? I've also, while I've been working on my abstract stuff, I've also been doing kind of a group mentoring. So we've been talking about all of these mental challenges on the creative side. So if you guys have any thoughts or questions or points of discussion, I would love to talk with y'all about it. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, this looks great. I love the sword. It looks fantastic. It feels like you're pretty close to being done. Everything's really crisp. Burb hat. I love it. Yeah, I'm really digging the blue with that kind of warm like wheat tone at the bottom. I think that's stunning. Trying to figure out how to finish it. You're so close. It looks so good. Also, I love this new function from Twitch. They didn't have this last time I was streaming, where it actually shows me the raider's name and when they talk so that I can see them talking. That was one thing I was like, I would always like miss, especially with like big raids, like people would come in and I wouldn't be able to see what the raider was actually saying. So I love this. Well, I hope streams have been going well, Tofu. It's really good to see you. I'm going to have to pop in and hang out in your stream again. I've been like, I've still been on social media, but I haven't really been like in things. Like I haven't been watching streams. I haven't really been doing anything except like my art behind the scenes. I kind of it wasn't like a full hiatus, but it was definitely something akin to a hiatus. So I'm really excited to be back. Thank you. Love the pigeons, by the way. I have this little postcard on my refrigerator with a pigeon wearing black sunglasses, and it
Lemon.
just says, forget about it. That's all it is. I love pigeons. Helena! Helena! It's been 84 years. Oh my gosh, how are you? Oh, it's so good to see you. Oh my God. You have no idea how excited I am to see you. I'm like just getting back to Twitch and like Helena, I adore you. You are you are one of the people that I always think about even when like even when I'm like not super present online. I'm always like, I wonder how Helena's doing. Oh, I miss you so much. I'm happy to see you. How have you been? Are you streaming? What's going on with you these days? What are you up to? Girl, you crossed my mind too. Wonder what adventures you up to. Oh, doing my thing. Still stream, yes. Going to markets and cons a lot now. I love it. Oh, that's so exciting. Are you doing a lot of local stuff or are you traveling? Love the short hair. Thank you. It's like kind of fallen flat now, but like I like to just make it really messy. Local and around Europe. Okay. Okay, cool. That's exciting. Do you have a favorite that you've been to so far? TwitchCon? Really? Okay. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad things are going well. It seems like I mean, it's awesome that you're doing the conventions. It seems like art's going really well and still super exciting. I'm gonna have to catch one of your streams. Like others don't know if don't know. It's different. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. I feel like Twitch, like the Twitch community has that like vibe to it. So I can imagine being at TwitchCon also having a similar wholesome vibe. Doing silly abstract art. I love the abstract art. I'm like obsessed. Wait, hold on, Helena. I need to introduce you to someone. Are you ready? This is Dr. Chicken. This is well, I don't necessarily know what we're naming this one, but it's giving me Shrek vibes. Yeah. Um this is an ongoing series from well, Stream helped me decide on some of these colors. So these are the first three that I've done. I'm going to be adding lines to these as well. So this is all chat's doing. It's been a lot of fun though. I really enjoy them. This will be my first abstract series with chat. I would say, I mean, it's my first abstract series anyway because this is my first time sharing it. So I've been like doing this stuff behind the scenes, but doing it here on stream is the first experience where like other people see it. Well, like people online, I guess. Yeah. Hi, Dead Man. How are you? Yeah, so it's been fun. I'm happy to be sharing it too. I'm going to be doing conventions next year as well. So back in like god, like 2019 was that when COVID happened? Whenever COVID happened. I was about to start doing conventions then and then COVID happened and now finally I'm going to be doing conventions next year as well. I'm still yet to put in any applications cuz nothing is quite open yet, but I have some places in mind and I'm really excited about it. You'll have to share with me all the stuff you've learned cuz I even in the 10 years that I've been doing this, like doing my art, I have not done conventions. So I'm excited for this like this branch of, where things are going to go. But I think it's going to be fun. It sounds like you've had a really good experience. So, been a learning process for sure. It's so cute to see people reacting to your work live. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited for that. I had like a little bit of a taste of that. I did an event with AMD at Adobe Max, and it wasn't like officially tabling at the convention, but I was there doing my work, showing people. And it was definitely interesting, like seeing people see it. For like, I don't know, like that's, I don't know what other way to like explain it, but yeah, it's a very different experience because like
Lemon.
obviously we've done it on stream, right? And people see our work, but like seeing their face, seeing like their reactions to it, and also being able to have like a face-to-face conversation is really cool. But I haven't like officially tabled anywhere, so the face. Hey, you with the face. Nice. uh, Steve and Beepo, thank you for the follows. I appreciate you guys coming in. I think I'm gonna do a little bit, maybe a little bit more work up here, maybe a little bit here, and then I'm probably gonna move on to the egg yolk guy. Yeah. Which one are you trying for first? There's one in Rochester, New York. Um TorahCon? I might be misremembering. I'm aiming for that one. Me and one of my students are planning on applying and going together. Um yeah, so that's the one we're aiming for. Which is so funny because like I was in that area for so long and never went to that convention. Yeah, it's a smaller one. Thank you, Dead Man. I appreciate it. Weggies. Yeah, I think I want to try the first few times with someone else. Um Mostly just because of like all of the like crazy con like bad things happening. Like I just want to make sure I've got like the support. But I think LS is probably going to come out um and depending on I don't think Nexi will be here around that time. So it'll probably just be the three of us. But yeah, I think it would be tough to do it alone. Especially like the first like official time. Not necessarily for any other reason except like, you know, I just don't really know what to look out for. But having help in anything I think is good. Safe.
Lemon.
Lemon. Thank you, Deadman, for the follow. Hey, Zappin. Thank you. I'm doing good, Dad. I'm doing good. Chill stream today. We had quite a discussion at the start about some art related challenges, struggles, things people are going through. And now I'm taking time for big focus on the art. Still happy to discuss some of that stuff if y'all are going through anything. But yeah, I'm taking advantage of the time here to draw. Big pens, yes. Dude, so many people have come in and be like, big pens are the way to go, and I'm so like on board. I love these. All right. I think I like where this one's at. I'm gonna move on to my egg yolk. And same thing with these two. I might come back to them at some point, but I think I'm pretty content with what we've got so far. Dream is to become a manga artist? Hell yeah. Okay. Number 3, and yet somehow this one feels like it's related to this one because this looks like a chicken and this looks like a broken egg yolk. It looks like an egg. So we'll see how this one goes. Um, should be fun. Yolkathon. It's all about eggs. All right, so I'm gonna start with the yellow bits. I think that just feels right. And because I'm already getting really flowy vibes, I think I'm just going to roll with the squiggles. That's a cute emo zap. All right, this is gonna be a weird one.
Lemon.
Gordon, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. You can definitely tell that I'm getting into my flow just with how quickly I start to work through some of these. Nothing but cute emotes. Little cuties.
Lemon.
Thank you for the follow. Real shot, thanks. I haven't thought yet about what I want to do with like the orange part. Like I have the idea for the yellow bit, but I might have an idea. I might have one. It's getting squiggly. All right. You know, I might leave. I'm gonna leave our little egg yolk as a cliffhanger, and I think I'll work on this next time. Whatever we have in store for orange, haven't figured it out yet, but we'll get there. So I'm gonna raid somebody, but before I go, I just want to remind you guys that the Dayanora figurine has been launched. You can find the link here in Twitch chat. Her arm fell off. I knocked her over, but she'll come with the arm. Anyway, she is released. You can find details of her linked in Twitch chat. You can also find more information linked on my socials, so Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, everywhere. Oh yeah, Helena, I didn't show you. She's 3D now. Just imagine her with an arm, okay? Yes. So super exciting. She's launched. You guys can check her out. And I think the pre-order is going to be running for about a month. There is only 100 available. So if you guys want to grab one, I would snag one now. We're going to sell out. But also, if you guys want some more goodies off stream, make sure you check out all my socials. You can find links on my website, silasay.com. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I'll be live again tomorrow for certain, probably in the morning, same time as I started today. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. Hang tight though. I'm gonna find somebody to raid here real quick. All right, who do we got live? Doo doo boo. I'm gonna send you guys over to CNOT. Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to streaming again, and I have a feeling we're gonna finish this series this week, so it's gonna be exciting. All right, I'm sending you guys over to CNOT. He is a sculptor. He does really cool stuff. Make sure you show him lots of love, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you.